In today's adventure of an episode, I've got an Am I the A-hole compilation for you guys. It's going to be a wonderful time, and I am going to read a new post at the beginning of this. But before that, I need to show you guys some of my recent cat photos, because I have been taken a lot. The first one is Jin the other day looking super cute, sleeping like he always does. The second one is Nez laying on the floor in front of the window. This is right next to where I film my videos. And that reminds me, I need to show you guys, look away if you don't like snakes. It's summer here in Australia, and it's super hot. I literally turned right and looked outside the other day and I saw this, and it just sort of slithered away and went under a bush somewhere, like a decently big tiger snake. So yeah, that was an adventure. And then we have Jin and Nez sitting together at the window. And finally, Nez sleeping in like a Superman sort of pose. Very cute. Okay, now we can start the episode. Enjoy, guys. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my grandkids because I don't want to? I'm in my late 50s, and last month with the holiday and then my job being rough the beginning of the month, I'm tired. Today I was able to take a half day, and this weekend I plan on doing nothing. This seems to be a problem. I got a call today asking if I could babysit the grandkids tomorrow night. They have to visit her uncle and doesn't want to take the kids to the nursing home. I told my daughter-in-law no. She asked why, and I told her I need to recharge. Daughter-in-law asked if I was truly doing nothing, and I told her yes. This started an argument where she thinks I'm being selfish. Oh my god, get out of here. And I can easily do this since I'm doing nothing. I told her my answer was again no. My son is also mad at me now, and I'm wondering if I should just suck it up and babysit. No, definitely don't babysit. This right here is a learning lesson for them. They can't just ask you to do something all the time, especially if you do need to recharge, and that really matters. And yeah, OP, you shouldn't be made to feel bad because you need a rest. That's ridiculous, and I'm assuming you do babysit and help out a lot, but that doesn't mean that you also don't need time for yourself. Yeah, no, definitely not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for ruining Christmas and being upset that the only gifts I got from my family were joke gifts? So, some background. My family likes to play pranks with Christmas and birthday gifts, and it's nothing new. I, female 21, as well as my 5 siblings from 29 to 37 years old, have all been pranked on our birthdays and on Christmas, and usually it's 1 or 2 gifts. This Christmas though, I was the only person to get all joke gifts. For example, I unwrapped a MacBook from my brother, but when I opened it, it was just some chocolate, which I don't eat, so I gave it away, and the MacBook was actually given to my sister inside a bag that she wanted. Another quote-unquote gift was what I thought was a book that I put on my Christmas list, but it was actually just the book cover put on a dictionary. When I asked my mum about the book, she told me that she gave it to my sister-in-law. Nah, this is not good. I can already tell you're not the a-hole. This went on with each present that my siblings or parents had given to me. AirPods was just a charger block, adapter. The gift cards were used and they had a $0 balance. Oh god. It's not funny if you do it with every single present, a card with Monopoly money in it, and so on, totaling to about 12 different joke gifts. I realized I went out of my way to get everybody something they wanted, or they'd like, and I didn't get anything. At this point, I was bummed, so I went to the living room to watch TV with my boyfriend. At dinner, they were talking about how much they all loved their gifts, and when my dad asked me why I hadn't said anything about mine, I said there wasn't much to say. Everyone but my boyfriend laughed, and my mum said it was no big deal as everybody else also got some joke gifts. I told her every gift I got was a joke, and that the ones that they got were also followed by the real one. My dad told me I needed to relax as I'm making a big deal about it, and I'd have next Christmas to get the stuff on my list. Not wanting to go back and forth, I told my boyfriend I wanted to leave, and we can spend the rest of Christmas break with his family and then go home. My family got mad and told me not to go and to just stay because it wasn't serious. I left and I put my phone on Do Not Disturb during the drive, and by the time we got to my boyfriend's parents' house, I had several missed calls and texts from them calling me stuff like ungrateful, sensitive, and childish. They said I ruined Christmas and made my parents upset because I left. The next day, I exchanged and opened gifts with my boyfriend and his family, and one of the gifts I'd gotten was the book that I wanted, the book my mum pretended to give to me. I posted it on my Instagram story, and not even 0 minutes after posting it, my sister sent a screenshot of my story to the family group chat, and they basically got mad at me for leaving and telling me that I ruined Christmas over some presents. They told me that I owe everyone, especially my parents, an apology because my mum spent New Year's sad because of my actions. Now, I just want an outside party to tell me if I'm the a-hole here. Am I in the wrong for being upset about the gifts and then for leaving? After reading their messages and sitting on this for a few days, I'm now feeling like maybe I was upset over nothing, and I need to apologize to them. I'm gonna edit as their offense and misunderstanding. My Christmas list didn't include expensive gifts, nor was I upset that I didn't receive expensive gifts. I was merely upset because of being pranked with everything I got, and being the only person who didn't get a real present. I also didn't do anything to my family family which would warrant them doing this. The last big argument I had was with my sister, which was over a year and a half ago. Thank you for the replies, and I'll try my best to reply to comments while I'm at work. Editing once more to add, I participated in joke gifts when I was a kid. I haven't participated in them for the last 10 plus years because I didn't enjoy it or find it funny, which they do know. I'll reply with more information if needed when I'm on break or have time to reply. And I am familiar with the term scapegoat, but truthfully I don't understand, so I'll research that too. Yeah, I can't even express enough how much you're not the a-hole. And yeah, you're right, the whole joke present thing, it's not even that funny. And it's especially not funny if they repeatedly do it. And you said that every single one of your presents was a joke. And yeah, like gifting you the cover to a book that you wanted, but not actually giving you the book and giving the book to some other family member. That's mean. And like, yeah, haha, that's so funny. It's not even funny a little bit. And none of this is your fault. You didn't ruin Christmas. The top comment says, don't apologize. Your family sucks and you have done nothing wrong. I'd write something like this in the group chat. Happy New Year, guys. I understand that mum is sad that I left on Christmas, but you need to understand that you all made me sad on Christmas Day. I didn't receive a single thoughtful gift from you guys. Not one. Every single gift I opened was a prank where the joke was that you actually didn't get me something I'd like, but something intentionally got to upset me. My hope is that you all didn't just realize that every single gift given to me was meant as a joke, but it was, every single one. And it isn't being ungrateful to be disappointed in that, and I think you all know that. I'm ready to move on from this disappointing Christmas and believe that next year will be different, but I will not be apologizing for leaving on Christmas when you all hurt me. Yeah, definitely. And like that bit where they said their mummy's upset because of their actions, you did not make them sad. Like this comment says, because my mum spent New Year's sad because of my actions. No, your mum spent New Year's sad because of the consequences of your family's actions. They treated you as a joke for Christmas. A joke isn't a joke if the person it's aimed at doesn't find it funny. Honestly, it came across as sort of bullying. You're the only one to only get joke presents, and your actual presents were given away to family members. Your family sounds cruel, and if mummy is oh so sad, then maybe she should think about her actions and the actions of the rest of the family. They suck. Not the a-hole. I'm glad that your boyfriend and his family don't suck. Yeah, the bit that really got me was the fact that they still didn't actually give them the present, like giving them the cover of the book they wanted, but they did actually buy the book, and it wasn't like, oh, you know, I'll give you the book later. You know, like, haha, you thought you weren't gonna get this, but you actually do. No, they gave it to another family member. That's not funny, that's mean. And yeah, have they lost their mind? How the hell are you meant to find this funny? Like, oh, yay, haha. Really not that funny. Yeah, you're not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for expecting my date to cover the cleaning cost of a dress that he ruined? I, 27 female, am in a bit of a dilemma and I could really use some advice. I've been seeing this guy for a couple of months and we decided to go to a nice high-end restaurant for a date. Initially, I was going to wear a nice dark blue dress that I like to wear out, but he asked me to wear a different white dress that I'd shown him once as it matched his outfit. I've never had a guy ask me this. The white dress in question was a gift from my late grandmother and was quite expensive, so I was reluctant, but I agreed, and I just asked that we didn't go anywhere after where I might spill something on it or otherwise mess it up. He mentioned going clubbing after dinner, which is why I said that. I didn't want to risk messing the dress up, and he said we could just go to dinner and I could change out of it before doing anything else. Great. However, the evening took a turn for the worse when he accidentally spilled his red wine all over my dress. He'd gotten an unexpected call, and when he tried to quickly mute his ringer, his elbow hit his glass and it spilled all in the lap area of my dress before I could even react. It was completely drenched and stained. He was apologetic at the time and I tried to be cool about it, but inside I was devastated, especially since I'd mentioned specifically how I wanted to be careful wearing it. Later I mentioned to him that the dress was very expensive and I asked if he'd be willing to help with the cost of cleaning or replacing it. To get it professionally cleaned and the stain removed would cost $100, which I asked him to pay half of. To my surprise, he got quite defensive. He argued that it was an accident and that I was being unreasonable for expecting him to pay for something like that, and that it was my fault for wearing it out knowing that it could have happened. You're the one who asked them to wear it. I feel like it's a matter of principle. Yeah, it was an accident, but the dress is ruined and it was extremely sentimental to me, not to mention a valuable dress. He thinks I'm being materialistic and making a big deal out of nothing. Now I'm not sure how to feel about his reaction. Am I the a-hole for expecting him to cover the cost? No, definitely not, OP. They should. Yeah, like this comment says, you're not the a-hole. That's not a good sign of his character in my opinion. I'd reconsider dating him, honestly, to put it mildly. Yeah, it was an accident on his part, but still, his accident and a costly one to a very sentimental gift from your late grandmother. If I was him, I'd be so apologetic and I'd promptly pay for the whole cleaning cost. Yeah, definitely, it's not a good sign of character, and I don't want to say it's a red flag, but it kind of is. Like the fact that the first thing they did was get defensive. Yeah, nah, no way. And like this comment says, if I was in that situation too, I'd definitely be so apologetic. And yeah, at the very least, I'd pay for it to get cleaned. The top comment says, not the a-hole. He should cover the entire cost, especially since it was made clear that the dress is both sentimental and delicate. Just because an accident happens doesn't mean there's no consequences. You are sure it was a mistake, right? I've got an alarm bell ringing because he was insistent on that dress being worn. Also, please don't stay with this guy. He clearly doesn't respect you and seems to think of you as an accessory. Am I the a-hole for picking a revealing bridesmaid's dress in order to get one of my bridesmaids to drop? So this has been a long thing coming. My soon-to-be husband has a sister, let's call her Mia. Now, Mia and I don't click very well. I am polite, but I wouldn't say that we're friends. I felt that I was forced by his family to make her a bridesmaid or she'll be sad. I'm gonna be blunt. Mia is fat and very insecure about it and has led bridesmaid dresses shopping to be a nightmare. Never could find something she wants and all the other bridesmaids and me liking it, so I gave everyone 2 options to vote on. Option 1 was getting a dress that can be styled in multiple different ways, or picking from a collection so everybody matches but they'll need to pay for it. Option 2 was that I'll buy everybody's dress, but I chose the dress and my decision was final. My 5 bridesmaids voted and option 2 won, so I picked out a blue strapless dress with a mini slit. I really like it and I knew Mia would have an issue with it. I sent a picture to all the bridesmaid and confirmed the right size before I ordered it, and this is where it blew up. Mia was pissed that I picked a revealing dress. This resulted in an argument where she thinks I'm a huge jerk, and I told her that she can step down if she has issues with the dress. She tried to get the family on her side, but everybody knows I gave them options and had watched me struggle to find something that everybody wants. Edit, she voted for the option where I pay for the dress. I truly didn't ask her since her and mother-in-law announced that she was going to be one of my bridesmaids at a family gathering. The only way to keep peace with the whole family was basically giving her what she wanted. I also have gone to 4 different shops to find a dress for everyone. Wait, so you didn't ask them to be a bridesmaid? It said at the end there, I truly didn't ask her since her and mother-in-law announced that she was one of my bridesmaids at a family gathering. So why didn't you say no to that immediately? Yeah, most of the comments are saying the same thing, but I don't think you're the a-hole. But I also don't feel like you should have let them be a bridesmaid if you didn't want them to be. And they said something there about the only way to keep peace with the whole family was to basically give her what she wanted. Yeah, but that's when you don't do that, you know? You shouldn't have said they could be a bridesmaid. The top comment says going against the grain, but I say not the a-hole. The a-hole here is mother-in-law and Mia. Mother-in-law for announcing Mia is the bridesmaid. Mia for being difficult. I'm fat and if I don't fit the same dress as everybody else, I'd have voted for buying my own from a collection. Mia could still be asking for this if you are willing to compromise. Again, your fiance has your back. Sometimes the bridesmaids wear a dress they couldn't have picked out because they respect the bride's choice. Yeah, the mother-in-law and Mia are definitely the a-holes, but yeah, it doesn't sound like OP should ever have let them be a bridesmaid. Am I the a-hole for last minute declining to go to a friend's wedding that's dry on New Year's Eve? My buddy, 33 male, is getting married to a girl that our friend group is not in love with. He loves her though, so we support him. We've known for months that this was a New Year's Eve wedding. I RSVP'd yes months ago with my wife. Several friends and I operated under the assumption that there would be booze at the wedding, especially considering it was on New Year's Eve. Well, I found out yesterday that it's a dry wedding. Turns out that it is because of his fiance and her family. I asked my wife if she knew this and said no and was pissed. I texted the groom buddy and I asked. He confirmed it. I told him this is something you should have told us a long time ago. I told him that my wife and I wouldn't be going. We want to spend the night drinking. I texted the rest of my friends about this and oh boy, the group chat went off. This led to several more people backing out. This is not how a bunch of us expected to spend New Year's Eve. Really, the only ones that didn't back out are the 4 members of our 12-person group that are in the wedding. Groom buddy reached out to me and went off. Pretty much he's now overspending and catering. He's having 20-ish less guests show up now and it's all last minute. I've been called an a-hole among other things for leading the charge in people not going to the wedding. Am I the a-hole? Yeah, I think you are. It's been a while since we've had one that actually is. Usually they're not the a-hole, but I'm pretty sure you are in this situation. Like what, 1 night without drinking? And also, it doesn't even mean that. Surely you could go to the wedding and then bloody drink later or something. But no, drinking on New Year's Eve is more important than your friend's wedding. The top comment says, I love drinking and I hate a dry wedding as much as the next guy. But you can show up to the wedding ceremony, spend an hour or 2 at the reception, and then go get drunk if that's an absolute must for you. Backing out last minute and letting your friend know he's not worth 2 hours of sobriety means that you're the a-hole by miles. Yeah, 100%, and it is on New Year's Eve, but it doesn't matter. Is that more important to you than your friend's wedding? It sounds like it is, but it shouldn't be. OP left a comment here that said it was a 5:30 ceremony and reception ends at 12:15 a.m. The comment under that says, that's BS. that being said, I'd go to the ceremony and reception long enough to eat and bail by 9:30 or 10, and then go somewhere else to celebrate New Year's Eve. You're not obligated to stay the whole reception. Yeah, I feel like that's what should have happened. Go to the wedding, but yeah, if you're that dead set on getting drunk, then do it after or something. Or yeah, stay for most of it and then leave. But bailing at the last minute shows that you care more about drinking than you do about your friends, and that sucks. Am I the a-hole for cancelling the babysitter after my wife decided not to attend my work holiday party? My 38-mile work held our annual holiday party last Friday. It was held at one of those axe-throwing places, which I'd never done before, so I figured it would be pretty fun. My wife, 36 female, and I have 3 kids, 10, 8, and 5, so we don't get out of the house for dates very often. The holiday party was planned almost 2 months ago, and my wife agreed to attend with me. I suggested we make it more of a date by either going out for drinks after the party or catching a late night movie. She thought this was a good idea too. I also arranged for a babysitter to come and watch the kids that night. The day of the party, my wife got home from work and told me that she had a horrible day and was in a bad space mentally, so she didn't want to come to the party. I told her I was disappointed, but I understand if she does want to stay home. As I was getting myself ready to head to the party, I called the babysitter and I cancelled. I apologized to her and I offered to Venmo her an hour's worth of our agreed rate, $30, to compensate for the cancellation, and she agreed that that was reasonable. As I was getting ready to leave, my wife asked me when the babysitter was going to come. I kind of looked at her funny and I told her I just cancelled the babysitter because she was no longer coming with me. She got mad at me and told me that I knew she had a bad day and was in a bad mental state and needed some time to herself. I told her that I'd assumed that none of that meant that she was incapable of watching our kids, and that I didn't think having the babysitter come when my wife was still home made any sense at all. She told me to call her back and see if she could still come and watch the kids, and I told her that if she wanted to do that then she can do it, but I'm not gonna do it. She tried to argue with me about it, but I told her that I had to leave for the party. While I was at the party, she sent me multiple texts about how the kids were driving her nuts and the babysitter didn't answer her calls and she needed me to come home. She kept on blowing up my phone and I eventually left the party over an hour early to go home. When I got there, she kept on arguing with me about how I was an a-hole for cancelling the babysitter when I knew that she'd had a rough day. I told her I wasn't going to pay a babysitter just so that my wife can rest after a bad day. I told her she could have just thrown a movie on for the kids and relaxed. I told her she was the one who ruined our potential night out and that having a bad day at work is not a good enough reason to pay a babysitter like $150 to $200. She still thinks I'm an a-hole for cancelling the babysitter without talking to her first, and she's still mad at me for it. But I don't think that was an unreasonable assumption to make, considering that there would have been plenty of times when I've had a bad day and I'm still 100% capable of watching the kids by myself while my wife leaves the house. Hey everybody, can we call it with a purely speculative cheating angle? My wife goes to yoga class with 5 other mums out of our neighborhood, so unless they're all stepping out on their husbands or they're all in cahoots together, she's not cheating. Our neighborhood isn't a reality TV show and real life isn't like that. She's an introvert, and when she gets to her social limit, she doesn't want to go out. It's happened before, which is why I didn't push her to come out with me. No, I don't feel like you're the a-hole, OP. These 2 comments. The only answer here has to be not the a-hole. I don't know what the wife's deal is here, but all of that is pretty inexcusable behavior. Even cancelling on the work party alone from just a bad day already puts her in a-hole territory. Sometimes you have bad days, but you still have to show up for your partner and for your family. And I'm sure husband would like to still use that babysitter money to have a night out with his wife. And the comment under it, yeah, unless bad day means something truly bad. If wife were like a surgeon who lost a patient, if wife had a chronic health issue, and the bad day was causing a flare-up, etc. But yeah, you don't bail on 2 month in advance plans with your spouse. And I think that's where all the cheating comments were coming from. People were saying that it sounds like they had other plans, and that's why they were so frustrated. And OP also said here, we don't have date nights very often. It's been since before Halloween that we've had one. I don't get out of the house by myself very much, but my wife does a yoga class in the evenings once a week and also has a bi-weekly book club that she meets up with. I'm at home with the kids by myself on those nights, regardless of how bad my day is. Yeah, no, I don't feel like you're the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for not letting my husband eat the food that I cooked? My husband has a food insecurity and overeats even when he's not hungry, out of fear of it all being eaten before he gets to taste it. Every item of snacks or soda in this house that's brought is gone within a few days because he binges until it's gone, and he has in the past told the kids they couldn't have more dinner because there wasn't enough, just so he could eat it later. I was at work for that one. I did make him get therapy, but it's not doing much good because he doesn't apply himself at all. He thinks it's pointless and refuses to do the steps that they provide. Today I bought stuff for lasagna and I bought myself a big salad because I can't eat red sauce. Within an hour of being home, he was already in the fridge asking if he could have my salad because he was starving. I said no originally, but he kept prying and said, come on, please, I'll share it with you. I said, what the F ever, and I walked off. He left me 3 bites. Oh no. No, I tossed it in the trash. This was not even 10 minutes before I started cooking. He said multiple times, I'm so full, or now my belly hurts, I ate too much. Oh my God, what is this? I ate too much, which is common for him, but I was still salty about it, honestly. Yeah, and you should be. So I only made half a sheet pan of lasagna, which would only feed the kids. Husband did say he was so full anyway. I give the kids their food 20 minutes later. I prep, so cooking takes zero time at all. I tell them they can finish the pan off. My husband comes out and sees the lasagna and says, "Oh, that's what I'm talking about." I said, "Absolutely not. You just ate my dinner and you were full 30 minutes ago. This is the kids' food." I didn't say this in front of the kids. He says I'm a royal biatch because he needs the lasagna and it's going to send him backwards because now I'm withholding food from him. Oh my God, the husband is a huge a-hole. Are you joking? You're not the a-hole, OP. The top comment says not the a-hole. If he's going to therapy and refusing to do the work, then he's not really going to therapy. He's just making therapy adjacent hand motions. And you're right to be furious. However, being furious isn't going to help in the long term. Your husband's disordered eating is affecting the whole household. He wants to eat the children's food, even though he was full 20 minutes ago. Not only is he modeling atrocious behavior to the children, he's going to wind up sending them the same way, eating fast because somebody else is going to eat it if they don't. Yeah, which is what the kids have to do around him, because otherwise he's going to eat their food. It's time to stop doing this. If he doesn't want to change his disordered eating, he won't. He's getting everything that he wants right now. All the food that anybody else needs is his. He says I'm a royal biatch because he needs the lasagna and it's going to send him backwards because now I'm withholding food from him. Classic addict behavior. He isn't moving forward, so what is there to send him backwards from? I forgot to say this explicitly. It's time to defend your children from their father. Yeah, you're not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for telling my son-in-law's wife that she'll never take my daughter's place? I lost my daughter Abby 7 years ago. She was married to Scott and had 3 kids with him, who are now 11, 12, and 14. Scott and my grandkids stayed part of the family, and last year Scott remarried. His current wife is Beth. We all knew Beth for a few years prior to the wedding, and she was always very friendly, though at times she could be a little pushy. Scott would always handle that though. After they got married, Beth's pushiness got worse, and Scott appeared to have lost control. Beth was upset when she dropped my grandkids off one day that we hadn't added photos of her to our house, and commented as such. In our living room, we have a display that has photos of our kids and their weddings. She felt that her and Scott's wedding should be there. She was upset when my grandkids spent Mother's Day with us and our extended family, and we didn't include her. Scott wasn't invited either. Mother's Day is a difficult day for him due to a bad relationship with his own mum, but Beth said that we should invite her too because she's part of the family, and then she said that she's one of our kids too. I asked her what she meant, and she told me that she's obviously going to be one of our kids now that she's the mother figure for our grandkids. I told Scott what she said, and he was embarrassed and told me that he'd speak to her. Beth was also upset when my husband posted on Facebook to say something about our kids, and she didn't get mentioned as one of our kids, but as Scott's wife. We mentioned Scott and how wonderful he was to Abby and how wonderful he is as a father. For my grandson's 14th birthday, we were all together and he wanted a mum side photo. Beth attempted to get into the photo, and when Scott tried to remind her, she said that she's part of the family now. He pulled her aside and the photo was taken without her, but she told one of my sons after that she felt like we weren't treating her as a daughter, and then said Scott never treated her as a lesser wife. We saw them a little over Christmas, and Beth was upset that we gotten them a joint gift for her and Scott instead of getting her one alone. She told me she's tired of feeling like she's not really family, and she said that she feels like we always put Abby first when she's here now. I saw red after this, and I told her she can never take my daughter's place, and the fact that she ever thought she could is outrageous. She told me that the kids call her mum, and they think the world of her, so why wouldn't we? I told her the kids have always called her Beth when I hear them, and she turned around and said that's our fault because the kids should be calling her mum and they don't. She lost it from there. She stormed out, and I explained what happened to Scott. He apologized and left the kids with her so he could speak to her. I think they worked it out, but Beth said I was needlessly cruel to imply that she's not as good as Abby and doesn't deserve to be our daughter. Am I the a-hole? No, you're definitely not the a-hole, OP. Yeah, like the top comment says, not the a-hole. You're Abby's parents and not Scott's. You have a good relationship with him and your grandchildren, and that's wonderful, but she's not your family. She's Scott's and a stepmother to your grandchildren. She seems to be pushing boundaries and misunderstands that your relationship with Scott is based on the relationship that he had with your daughter, and you've included Beth in what you're comfortable with, but you're not obligated to treat her like your daughter. And her comments about being the children's mother and that your daughter is put first despite having passed is alarming. Yeah, and the comment underneath, it's bad enough that Beth is trying to erase Abby as the kid's mother, but to try and replace Abby as OP's daughter, that's disgusting and disrespectful. Are we sure Scott or Abby didn't cross paths with Beth before before Abby died. Not saying Scott cheated, but Beth sounds obsessed with becoming Abby or taking Abby's life for herself. And the comment underneath, yeah, this is totally unhinged. Yeah, it is, and you're not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my sister at my wedding since she's in a wheelchair and will take up all the spotlight? My sister, 26, has been on and off out of the hospital. I'm going to call my sister Anna. Anna got cancer when she was 15 and she was able to beat it. Ever since she's been having growths, and anytime one appears, we are worried about the cancer coming back. My issue is that she always makes these announcements that she needs to go back to the doctors again at the worst times. At the beginning, I thought it was just bad timing, but it's happened so many different times when I hit a milestone. My graduation, my birthdays, my engagement party, and anytime she makes an announcement that she needs to go back to the hospital, my whole family flock to her. I've had my birthday dinner turn into my relatives flocking to her for the whole night. I had a dinner party to announce my wedding date for my relatives. It was going so great and it was such a fun time until Anna told mum she needs to go back to the hospital. Soon everybody forgot about the reason for the dinner party and it was quiet. My aunt even stepped in to do a prayer for Anna. Another event was taken over. I went low contact with her after that. She was invited to the wedding and it's in 2 weeks. I learned today that she's on and off in a wheelchair from my mum and Anna. She'll need to take it just in case for the wedding. I asked if the rest of the family was informed and she told me no. I told both of them they need to inform them. They told me they don't want to worry them and won't do that. I'd had enough and I told them you need to tell them before my wedding. Again, a no. I then informed them that Anna isn't invited. This started a huge argument about how I'm a ding-dong, and my point is that I'm sick of her stealing the spotlight, and that will happen if she rolls in with a wheelchair. Edit, I'm going to do a mass blast to all of my relatives saying that she's in a wheelchair and I'm unsure if she'll be able to make it to my wedding, and to keep my sister in their thoughts and prayers. I'm getting ahead of this. Yeah, the top comment. You need to sit down with your parents privately and in person if possible. Explain calmly that you love your sister, but she's been using her health situation to hijack every event in your life. Give the examples that you gave us and every single example you can recall. Explain that like them, you are concerned about her health, but you would like your wedding day to focus on you and your fiance. It's extremely important to you and you're asking them not just to comply, but to back you up too. Explain that you've asked her to inform everybody of her wheelchair use and she refused. You asked her not to make this one day about her, and she's signaling that she will not honor your request. After trying to come to a compromise, you and your fiance have decided that if she can't stop herself from springing this and continuing to demand everybody's attention at an appropriate time, your wedding, that it's best that she doesn't attend. It's been 11 years. Her situation is sad, but it's obvious that she's leveraged it and continues to manipulate everybody. You're not the a-hole. Yeah, definitely. And good on you, OP, for telling the relatives too. I hope it all works out. And yeah, if you had no reason to believe that they were going to make this all about themselves, then it'd be totally fine. But it sounds like they got a pretty good track record of doing this. And yeah, that's not acceptable at your wedding. So yeah, good luck and congratulations on the wedding too. Am I the a-hole for ordering food to go when my friend group wanted to split the check evenly? This has been an ongoing issue. I have a friend group that likes to eat nicer food. Personally, for me, I'm fine getting something cheap on the menu. The issue is they always want to split the check. I've had the conversation so many times that I want to pay for what I ordered. It results in an argument where I have to bend or everybody's mad at me. Yeah, I can already tell you're not the a-hole. They have absolutely no right to get upset at you for that. I also make a lot more money than my friends, so it always results in them basically calling me cheap. They don't get that I want to pay for my meal and that's it. Anyway, we went out to eat yesterday and they all ordered things that were around $30. I got the house salad and my total was $12. They told the server to split the bill and I didn't want to fight about it again. So I asked the server to add onto the bill an entree and a dessert for me to take home, and this resulted in my bill going up to the 30s. So they asked me what I was doing. I told them I was getting more food. They got upset that I increased the price that they needed to pay. This resulted in another argument and they think I'm a jerk. What? They don't even sound like good friends. Edit, Reddit, I've done everything you've suggested. I've had the server take mine out and I pay for it. I've spoken to them. If I do anything that isn't splitting the bill with them, they get pissed. To be honest, OP, I wouldn't be going out to eat with these people. And also, I feel like that is the next step. Like, if they're not going to listen to you and you're being completely reasonable, like this entire time you've been paying money towards their food and they don't sound grateful for that, you've got every right to just pay for the food that you get. And yeah, if they're still going to get pissy at you about it, I wouldn't go out to eat with them anymore if I were you. And if they ask you why, you can just say that. Like, I tried so many times times to explain to you that I only want to pay for my food, but every time you guys got upset at me. And also the fact that when you ordered the same amount of food as them, that they got upset at you for that. As in what? You're meant to get cheap stuff and pay for their food? Like, yeah, the fact that they got upset at you for making it completely fair, I feel like that's such a red flag for these being sucky friends. But if they're so insistent on splitting the bill, maybe you should order way more food than everybody else and do to them what they've been doing to you. And also, I don't like how they called you cheap as well because you don't want to buy expensive stuff. Yeah, you're definitely not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law that she won't be seeing my baby after throwing a baby shower for herself? My husband and I are expecting our first child. We moved to be closer to his family. I'm no contact with mine. My mother-in-law has been referring to the baby as her baby this entire time. She'll say stuff like, I can't wait for my baby to be born. Oh God. My baby is going to be so loved. This rubs me the wrong way for reasons I can't explain, but my husband tells me to ignore her. No, she shouldn't be saying stuff like that. That's super weird. It's not just you who thinks it, OP. My mother-in-law wanted to throw me a baby shower and invite her friends. She said they made an agreement a long time ago that they'd celebrate each other's kids' weddings and births. Okay, this mother-in-law is so out of line. My husband and I eloped and we declined a reception for her friends since we don't know them. My mother-in-law told me that I owed it to her to let her throw the baby shower since I hurt her friends' feelings. Oh my God. By not having a wedding reception. I asked if I could invite my friends and she said no. What? Is this a joke? I'd be no contact with the mother-in-law. She said no, that this was for her friends and that if my friends wanted to have a baby shower, they could. I reluctantly agreed. My husband and I spent hours on our registry and my mother-in-law was asking for it so she could share it with her friends. She said that she forwarded the registry. She asked me what design I wanted on my cake and cookies. I told her flowers because I'm decorating the nursery in a garden theme. At the shower, they provided me with a mother-to-be sash and my mother-in-law a granny-to-be sash to wear. I noticed that the theme of the shower was circus animals. The cake had an elephant and balloons on it, and the cookies were animals. At first, I thought that maybe the floral theme was just too difficult, so I rolled with it until it was time to open presents. Every present was some sort of circus animal. Onesies, blankets, toys, nothing on my registry. I was a little confused, and I even went so far as to check my registry to make sure I hadn't goofed up and changed anything. I thanked everybody for their gifts, and I tried to sound as gracious as possible, but I was so confused. My husband, who's a little less tactful than I am, showed up at the end of the shower and noticed the theme right away. He goes, "What's up with the circus animals?" He looks at the presents and says, "This isn't what we asked for." Then he looked at his mum and goes, "Mum, what did you do?" She smiled and said, "I didn't like the theme you chose for my baby. I'm gonna decorate my baby's nursery at my house with circus animals. So I created a registry for myself." My husband said, "You did what?" She says, "My baby is gonna need a room at my house, so I threw a shower for myself." I lost my composure and I told her that she would not see my baby and to stop calling the baby hers. And my husband told his mum that she's delusional if she thinks we're gonna allow this. She started crying and said that we were just withholding her baby from her. What? We've been getting texts from the family since the shower, calling us selfish and ungrateful and saying that we ruined her joy of being a grandma. Oh, get out of here. Are we the a-hole? Is this real? Like, did we really just read that? Oh, you ruined her joy of being a grandma. They don't want to be the grandma. They want to take your kid. Of course you're not the a-hole. The mother-in-law is out of their mind, absolutely unhinged and delusional. And yeah, don't go along with it for even a second, OP. Oh, I can't believe that. That's infuriating. I can't even imagine how you and your husband feel. The top comment says, "Not the a-hole. Make sure if she has keys to your home that the locks are changed. Make sure you invest in security cameras. Let the hospital know that your mother-in-law is to be nowhere near your baby. Let them know that you and your husband are the only two that fill out any paperwork. Honestly, no contact from the start. That way she has no grandparent visitation case. Document every creepy thing she does. Call your doctor and tell your pediatrician at the time to password protect your medical information. Your mother-in-law is unhinged and this has hands that rock the cradle vibes. Yeah, you're so not the a-hole, OP. And what the hell are the other family members talking about? Saying that you're selfish and ungrateful? Don't listen to them for a second. The mother-in-law sounds wild. And yeah, not safe for your kid to be around them. The mother-in-law is showing you so many different red flags. Yeah, you're not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for not continuing my reception after my husband went behind my back? My now husband Lucas, 26, and I, female, 25, were getting married. We decided to tie the knot as we're having a little girl together and we're madly in love. So leading up to the wedding day, Lucas told me that his best man, Jacob, wanted to propose to his girlfriend as it would be a great time and it's a nice venue to do it at. I said that I didn't want him to propose at our wedding wedding, as it's our special moment, not theirs, and they can do it sometime else. Lucas told me that his friend was mad that I didn't agree. I just wanted the wedding to be about us because it was our special day. After that disagreement, I thought nothing of it. Fast forward to my wedding day, we'd finished the church service and now we're at the reception and we're all having fun eating. I'm eating my food and then Jacob stops the music at the DJ booth to make an announcement. I just knew from that moment he was going to propose. I looked to see where Lucas was and he was holding red and white roses, walking out to stand in front of Chloe, Jacob's girlfriend, spelling out, "Will you marry me?" I was shocked that they went behind my back when I said no. I got up out of my seat and I walked out. It's been 2 days since the wedding and my husband cursed me out for not letting them have a special moment. I responded with, I wanted the day to be about us because it's our wedding, not theirs. And I am happy for them, but the worst thing was that even though I said no, you went behind my back about it. Since that argument, he moved out to the guest bedroom and now most of my friends are cursing me out on all of my socials. Am I the a-hole? Nah, you're right, OP. Not only was it your wedding day, but yeah, they went behind your back. Ew. You're getting married to celebrate your love together. If anybody's gonna have your back and not go behind your back, it's your partner. And the fact that they did sucks. The top comment says, not the a-hole, not the a-hole, not the a-hole. There are so many different posts on here and on the revenge forums about a-holes who propose at other people's weddings. It's a terrible thing to do, and I'm surprised his girlfriend didn't turn down the engagement for doing something like that. If he wanted a nice venue, he should have paid for a nice dinner or something, not use the celebration you just spent thousands of dollars on to make it about him. I'd be requesting the cost of their meals back. And the fact that your new husband went behind your back is also pretty terrible. Your friends who are cursing you out on social can easily be removed from your life. Your husband though, I think this is something that will have to be discussed in couples counselling so he can see what a selfish backhanded thing he did. Yeah, 1,000,000%. If everything you've said is true, I don't feel like you're in the wrong, OP. Am I the a-hole for changing my name after my dad gave it to his affair, baby? I, female 20, have a half-sister, female 7. That's a product of my dad's affair, and he thought it would be an amazing idea to give her my name. He started forcing us to get to know each other as siblings, and my mum, being the traditional wife that she is, led her into our home. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate the child because I understand that she's innocent in all of this. I'm actually working on getting over it and learning to love and accept her. However, I despise the fact that my dad decided to give her my name. I started hating my own name and I didn't want to be associated with it anymore. So the moment I got to college, I introduced myself under a different name to everybody. I got a certificate which had my new name on it, and when my dad saw it, he went berserk, claiming that I don't like his child and I don't respect her. My mum is also angry at him for what he did, especially since the name was given to me by her and not him. Whoa, okay, that one's interesting. But yeah, God no, you're not the a-hole, OP. That's so bloody weird. Are they trying to have a second you or something? What's his reasoning behind it? And yeah, pretty much like this comment says, not the a-hole. It's like he wanted to recreate you. It's creepy. I'm sorry this happened to you, OP. Am I the a-hole for telling a stranger that I'm not her therapist and to stop interrupting my checkout at the store? I feel like we don't have to read this. You're probably not the a-hole. I was at a bookstore last night after work. When I got to the register, it was empty. A moment later, an employee came back around with another customer. The other customer got in line behind me while still chatting with the employee. I could tell the employee was a little uncomfortable as she called me forward. The other customer stood literally right behind me as the employee kept doing the brush off of, yeah, oh really, wow. The other customer was talking about how she'd recently been diagnosed with cancer, going into details about the treatments that she'd need, etc. Finally, she was quiet when it was all clear the employee was focused on my transaction and trying to ask the whole, do you have a rewards card, do you want one, etc. That's when the other customer turned to me and started giving me the same story. I said I was sorry to hear about her diagnosis and I went back to speaking to the employee. The customer still kept talking right in my ear, saying, yeah, I'm so pissed. Why'd this have to happen to me? Finally, I told her, you need to back up and give me some space. Stop interrupting our conversation. She started saying, I have cancer. I need to vent. I said, again, sorry to hear that, but we're not your therapist. Back up. She backed up and went silent. Employee looked relieved. I told my wife what happened and she told me that I was rude. The woman was clearly going through something. I said, as a former retail worker, I despise people who unloaded their days on me, and she was clearly making the employee uncomfortable while also standing right next to me. My wife said that I was still wrong. Am I the a-hole? No, you're not the a-hole. Like, yeah, you feel sorry for him, but it's super unfair what they're doing. And like this comment says, not the a-hole. She needed to be told. I've worked retail and this is a hard situation. You can't be rude, and at the same time, this person is making it very hard for you to do your job. She needed to vent, no doubt, but she can't go around talking at strangers like that. Yeah, definitely, you did the right thing by saying something. anything. And I also don't really feel like what you said was that rude. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to give my nephew a puppy after he attempted to steal one from me? I'm 25 female. My dog Dove had puppies. She's a golden lab. I promised my nephew Dion, 10, that he could have one of the puppies when they're ready. He was so excited. So last week when Dion and my sister came over, he asked if he could see the puppies, which I said yes. He went in to see them. Me and my sister were catching up. Then we heard Dove barking, which alerted me to go check on Dion and Dove. Dion was standing in the corner with his hands behind his back. We could hear the puppy's muffled cries and I pulled him forward and I'd found that he'd put the puppy in a plastic bag. I told him off and I asked him what he was doing. He started crying and said that he wanted the puppy now and that he was taking this one home. I told him no. You already know that they're too young and that they need their mother's milk. Dion had a tantrum. My sister had to take him home. Dove was understandably agitated and was now wary on who comes nearer pups. I decided over a couple of days that I didn't trust Dion to have one of them. So when my sister came out to visit, I told her that I didn't want to give Dion one of the puppies after what he did. She got upset with me and said it was a mistake and he learned his lesson. I said he didn't even apologize. She said, what for? The puppy was fine. Oh, come on. I got angry then and I said, what if Dove hadn't alerted us? The puppy could have died. She said I was going to break his heart if I go back on my promise. I said, I'm sorry, but that's my final decision. And she left angry. I've since been getting people on my back about breaking my promise and that I'm a liar. I even got a video message of Dion crying and calling me names. I'm starting to feel bad. Am I the a-hole? No, you're not the a-hole. Of course you're not going to trust him with a puppy. Like, how could you trust him with a puppy? And the bit where you said that he didn't apologize and your sister was like, what for? That's so frustrating. Like, what do you mean, what for? Yeah, you're not the a-hole, OP. And like the top comment says, absolutely not the a-hole. 1, you don't put a living animal in a plastic bag. 2, you can't reasonably expect to receive a dog if you've tried to steal it. You can't shoplift from a store, get caught, and then try to remain in good standing as a customer. Same thing applies here. Number 3, it's your choice what happens to the puppies, and it's your choice who you sell them to, not her. And 4, you're not a liar. Had Dion not stolen the puppy or hid it from you and scared the mum, you would have kept your promise. However, the situation changed and therefore the promise is void. I'd keep a good eye on your puppies to make sure she doesn't try and take one for themselves. Yeah, that bit at the end there about the promise is so true. Like, yeah, you promised them that they could have a puppy, but obviously after what they did, that's gonna change. And how did they not expect that? Surely they realize they're in the wrong, don't they? But they really want a puppy or something? Yeah, you're so not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for not participating in my fiance's weird Christmas underwear tradition? This year I celebrated Christmas with my fiance's family for the first time. Before we went to my fiance's parents' house, my fiance warned me that his parents usually come short in the amount of food they cook for Christmas dinner, and that there's often not enough for everybody. What I didn't expect though was to be expected to participate in the family's weird tradition. Apparently they've got a long-standing tradition where instead of drawing straws, they'll throw all of their underwear into a bin and then go and take turns wearing a blindfold and drawing a pair of underwear from the pile, and drawing the smallest pair of underwear correlates to drawing the smallest straw. What? Ew. I'd never heard of this tradition, so I felt blindsided when right before Christmas dinner, my fiance's mum yelled out that it was time to pull the straws to decide the order of who got to plate up their food first, in case there wasn't enough for everybody. At first I thought the family was joking when they announced this, so I laughed, which made my fiance get real defensive. I volunteered to get my food last, so I wouldn't have to participate, but my fiance just got even more annoyed and asked me to just try to be a bit more agreeable. Oh, get out of here. The whole thing was kind of weirding me out, so I called an Uber and I went home. Now things are real tense between me and my fiance, since now he says I made a bad impression by acting like I was too good for their family tradition. Am I the a-hole? Is this a joke? Fiance, OP didn't make a bad impression. Your family made a super weird first impression by doing this. That's hilarious. It doesn't even sound fun. I don't understand what possibly is even good about this. Like, how is that not just a giant pain? It's weird and there's no way that's fun. And they're doing it to decide the order of who got to plate up their food first. Hey family, you can literally just talk to each other. You don't need to play with each other's underwear, you bunch of weirdos. And the fact that the fiance is getting upset at you for not doing this, if I were in your shoes, OP, I would be completely convinced that they were joking. The top comment says, what the hell? Not the a-hole? This doesn't seem like it could possibly be real, but I also don't know how you'd even come up with this, so I'm inclined to believe you. Number 1, it's gross as hell to have to touch other people's dirty underwear, even more so when they're not people you're directly related to or particularly close to. Number 2, too. It's weird and embarrassing to have your underwear on display for everybody. Plus, imagine your underwear being the smallest or the largest pair, or having a period stain on it or discharge. My in-laws should never see my underwear, and I don't know if I'd feel worse about them seeing the tiny sexy ones or the more full coverage ones I wear on my period. And number 3, they have to know that this is not a normal thing. You could have and should have been warned. And number 4, this problem could have been easily fixed by them simply making more bloody food or asking guests to bring a dish to share so there'd be enough to go around. Once again, not the a-hole. I would have noped right out of there too. And if I were you, I'd tell your fiance that I am too good for their family tradition because it's weird and trashy. Yeah, it is. It's so gross. And what a dumb tradition. I can't get over this. It can't be real, can it? And yet that's right. Why are they taking it so serious? And the fact that the fiance is upset at you? Yeah, no, they can do that. I would have left as well. Like, oh yeah, okay. I'll just take my underwear off and put it in a bin with all of your underwear. What the hell? And I still can't believe the fiance was mad at you. What a joke. And yeah, like that comment said, you can just ask somebody to bring some more food. You don't have to touch each other's underwear. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend's dad that my mum returned everything he got me for store credit for herself? So last year, my mum married Mark and we moved to a new state. We have a 3-bedroom house. My mum and Mark have 1 room. Mark's daughter Lily, 10, has her own room. And I, 13 female, share one with my brothers, 16, 18, and 22. Mark doesn't want my mum to work, but he also doesn't give her money for us because that's our dad's job. So I was kind of on my own to get anything I needed. A guy at my school noticed that I don't have a lunch most of the time, so he started bringing extra food for me. And then I started going to his house after school. They've been really nice to me. They take me out with them and they got me a pair of shoes because mine were too small. They went all out for me for Christmas. I got 2 pairs of boots and another 2 pairs of shoes, 6 pairs of jeans, 4 leggings, like 20 shirts, 2 jackets, a raincoat, rain boots, umbrella, a new backpack and water bottle, and even some hair stuff and some makeup. They also got me glasses, but that wasn't really a Christmas present. My mum took everything back for store credit and she used it to get herself stuff. Oh my god, what? My friend's dad picked me up the day after Christmas to take me to camp. He signed me and my friend up for cooking camp during winter break, and I told him what happened. He called CPS and they came to camp to talk to me a couple of days later, and then they came to the house and now I'm staying with my friend and his dad. He reordered everything he got me, plus he had me go into Target and some other stores to get a couple of things until everything gets here. But my mum's really mad that I told him, and she's saying that I got her into a lot of trouble, so I wanted to know if I was wrong for telling him that she returned everything. No, definitely not. Like, oh, what are they? The consequences of their actions? Oh, I'm so sorry, OP. The top comment says, you're not the a-hole and you're not wrong. Parents take care of their kids. That's our job and our privilege to do. I'm so sorry, OP, but your mum and your stepdad were mistreating you and neglecting you. Your friend's family was able to see this, and I'm so glad they got CPS involved. And OP says, my mum has never been this mad at me before. I think I'm going to be here a long time. My friend's dad had me pick out new paint and furniture for my room. Yeah, but they're only mad at you, OP, because they're getting in trouble and they got caught. They're mad at you because they're selfish and they're self-centered. They're annoyed at you because they're in trouble because of their own actions. Yeah, that's not your fault. Oh, I'm so sorry, OP. That's bloody awful. I'm so glad you've got a good friend and they've also got a good family. Wow, unbelievable. Am I the a-hole for not telling my former fiance that I bought her dream house? Probably not. 10 years ago, my fiance left me, 38 male. A few weeks before our wedding, we grew up in a small town. We were friendly, went to the same school, but we never were in the same clique. She was one of the popular kids and I wasn't. A few years after college, I moved back home when my dad got sick. I found a job in my field about 45 minutes away from home. I'd help take my dad to his chemo appointments. It was during one of those appointments I ran into my ex. She now worked at the hospital. One day while waiting, I asked her out. It turned out that we shared a lot of the same interests. It seemed like our relationship was going great. About a year or so into dating, we moved into a rented house together. The following year, I proposed. So we began looking for a house. My ex always wanted to live in her grandparents' house on the lake near our town. Her family was forced to sell the house when her grandparents died because of an inheritance dispute. 6 months before our wedding, a chance event happened. The couple who bought her grandparents' lake house had grown tired of our snowy winters. It took some work and nearly all of my savings, but I was able to buy her dream house. It was going to be a surprise wedding present, so I didn't dare tell her or anybody in her family my plans. A month before our wedding, ex and her friends went to Miami for a bachelorette party. I'm not all that sure sure what happened there. Part of me doesn't really want to know, but I do know that her high school boyfriend was there. Oh god. When she got back from the trip, she broke down and confessed that she was afraid to get married and she wanted to call it off. It was a mess. She later moved to Florida and eventually married the high school boyfriend. I ended up moving back to the city for an amazing job, and in the meantime I still had the lake house. With the help of my mum and dad, we started to fix up the lake house. It took a few years. My mum and dad would look after the contractors while I was in the city. Having that house was perfect when everything got locked down. I was able to escape the city and work remotely from the lake house. I now live here full time and I'll work remotely. This summer we had 4th of July at the lake house. My sister-in-law used some photos from the lake this summer in her Christmas card. One of those cards made it to X's cousin. The cousin recognized the house. The Saturday before New Year's, X's mother and sister were at my front door. After pleasantries and answering their initial questions, they made an offer to buy it. I refused. They were not happy. A few days after, I got a long text from my ex. This was the first time in about 9 years that she's even talked to me. She called me and asked for keeping it from her. Her family is blaming her for losing the house again. She then asked me to sell it. I still have no intention to sell. Now her and her family are complaining on social media that this is some sort of revenge. Am I the a-hole? No, of course you're not the a-hole. And the bloody audacity of the family and your ex. Ew, so gross. So yeah, you chose not to tell them that you bought it, which by the way is completely fine. They ran off to a bloody bachelorette party and then dumped you right before the wedding when you bought the bloody dream house of theirs. Like obviously you're a very thoughtful and caring person. I don't know about the ex. Yeah, you're definitely not the a-hole. But if you showed them like this is when I bought it before you dumped me, I didn't buy it later as revenge, then yeah, there's nothing they can do about it. Yeah, like this comment says, I'd be petty and I'd post on social media the date on the contract when you purchased the house and explain that if it wasn't for ex cheating on you and leaving you for her new husband, this would have been her house as a wedding gift, but instead of having it be a painful memory of the hurt she caused you, with the help of your family you were able to bond with your family even more by working on the house together, and that this house will now always stay in your family for generations to come. The audacity of your ex and her family is crazy. Now after you and your family spent a decade fixing it up, they're trying to lowball you out of the house. I assume their offer wouldn't cover the cost of renovations and any appreciation on the house, because that definitely seems on brand for people like that. And when that didn't work, they took to social media to complain. Not the a-hole. I'd post the entire story on social media and then block everybody in the family. Yeah, please do that, OP. They 100% suck. And you're not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law that if she expects me to get a DNA test for my son, then I want her to get a DNA test for my husband? I, 30 female, met my husband, Stephen, 32, at a friend who was a cousin's party. We instantly connected and we started dating not long after. We've been happily married for 5 years now and we have a 4-month-old son. I meet my mother-in-law at his uncle's funeral. He asked me to attend it in support of him. Before we left, his cousin warned me about mother-in-law. He said she wasn't the nicest person and she had impossibly high standards to meet and can also be judgmental, so don't take it personally, she does it with everybody. I did ask my husband and he agreed that mother-in-law can be quite judgmental, but not to worry, that he'll be there for me. I felt like they gave me the sugar-coated version of her because she was terrible. She made a scene about bringing a stranger to a family funeral, but my husband cut her off and said his aunt, who was his uncle's widow, said that he could. She spent the rest of the funeral giving me nasty looks and making passive-aggressive comments. She made a scene at our wedding, but that's a different story of its own. But after minimal contact with mother-in-law, my husband eventually got around to telling her I was pregnant. I expected her to be angry and to have a go at him, but she surprised us both and was the complete opposite. She was excited about being a grandmother. She was congratulating us. Her attitude did a complete turn and I grudgingly allowed her to visit. When it was time to give birth to my son, she wanted to see my son being born, but I refused. That's when her ugly side reared its head again and she caused a scene and was thrown out. I refused to let her visit us at home. My husband agreed, but she rang crying and apologizing. She said she was just overwhelmed about being a grandmother and her emotions got the better of her. Against my better judgment, I relented and said okay. When she first held him, she looked at me and said he was beautiful. I went into the kitchen to get us a drink and then I could hear my husband telling her to get out. I went back in. She started yelling he needed to get the baby tested because he doesn't look like anybody in their family. He kicked her out. She took to social media and told everyone that I cheated on my husband and that my husband needs to get a DNA test to prove that he was the dad. She got a lot of attention for that, so I made my own post and I said I'd get a test when she gets a test for her son, and that just made everything worse. She rang my husband up telling him to take it down. He just hung up on her. Everyone divided and questioning my husband's paternity since she had such a strong reaction to it. Now even my husband is starting to wonder and making me feel like I went went too far. And I'm thinking, am I the a-hole for saying that? Nah, definitely not. They sound bloody awful. The top comment says, not the a-hole. She doesn't sound stable at all, and I'd be worried about what she'd do around the child. Even if she was just another friendly, incestuous boy mum, that mood swing, going from one extreme to another in a blink of an eye, goes beyond a-hole and into dangerous territory. Also, her demanding to see the birth and immediately taking to social media also indicates that she has no concept of boundaries. To have someone like that around your child, even if she doesn't do anything drastic, could be very damaging. Also, if she wants to make her delusions public, she can handle your public response. If you don't want a witch hunt, don't make a pyre. Yeah, definitely, unstable is the word for it. That's 100% what she is. Like, yeah, it's one thing to be a little bit rude or a little bit toxic or whatever, but this person sounds like they're on an entirely different level, that pretty much don't ever talk to them sort of level. Yeah, you're not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for refusing to call my niece anything else but her chosen name? My 27 female husband, 33 male, and I are currently taking care of his recently orphaned niece, 8 female, with the plan to later adopt her. Her first name is Kelly and middle name is Anne, fake names, but she prefers to be called Anne and has been that way for a few years now. She introduces herself as, my name is Kelly Ann, but you can call me Anne. My sister, 29 female, is 8 months pregnant with her first child and several months ago found out it's a girl. She's always wanted to name her daughter Anne and is excitedly telling everybody. Upon learning of Kelly Ann's situation and how my husband and I plan to adopt her, my sister told me a few days after that we should start telling Kelly Ann to call herself Kelly instead of her middle name. She said that 2 Anns in the family will be confusing, so Kelly Ann needs to get used to being Kelly. My husband said she's being ridiculous and if anything, it's her baby that needs renaming. Because Kelly Ann has been calling herself Anne for years, my sister argued that she's announced her baby's name many months ago and we only plan to adopt Kelly Ann recently, so we should be the one making her rethink how to call herself. I joined my husband's side and I told my sister Kelly Ann can call herself however she chooses to. My sister and her husband called my husband and me a-holes for stealing her baby's name. So, am I the a-hole? No, you're not the a-hole. Why should Kelly Ann have to change what she calls herself over something as stupid as it's confusing to have 2 Anns? Pretty sure that's not a big deal, and your life as a person and what you want to call yourself matters way more than having a little bit of confusion in the family. It's bloody stupid, and the audacity of them to think that she should change? Nah, definitely not. Yeah, like the top comment says, not the a-hole. No one should have to choose a different name. I know a few families with cousins who share a first name, and it's not a big deal. If your sister doesn't want to have 2 Anns, then she shouldn't use it, but expecting a child to adopt a different name than she has been using, just because she, the sister, has decided to use the selected name is entitled and mean to say the least. Your sister and her husband are being absurd. A, there's not really any such thing as stealing a name, especially a common one like Anne, which I realise is fake, but presumably you chose similar fake names. And B, Kelly Ann has been alive for far longer than their child has been, and using the name for longer too. Out of curiosity, if you were to later adopt an older child into the family who came with the same name as one of their kids, would they also expect you to change that child's name? Ludicrous. Yeah, the audacity of some people. And the annoying part is they think they're right, and they have the gall to call you guys a-holes. Yeah, you're not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for dental fees after a kid broke his teeth on a macadamia nut? My friend 39 female June brought her 8-year-old son Stephen over to my house today. June and I were just chatting over a cup of tea when there was a scream from the kitchen. We rushed to find that Stephen had tried to eat a whole macadamia nut with the shell. For context, the nut is a white nut surrounded by the hardest and most smooth chocolate looking shell you've ever seen. He'd obviously thought it was chocolate and tried to eat it from a closed Tupperware container on the kitchen island. Was gonna crack them with a hammer later. My friend first admonished Stephen for eating something obviously not meant for him and took him to the emergency dental, where she later learnt that he'd cracked one of his molars, and it was apparently quite bad. Apparently, as it's still his first set of teeth, they'll just be pulling it out. But she wants me to pay for at least half of it, as it was my macadamia and it was on my kitchen island and accessible. Am I the a-hole? Right, so they must have just chucked the nut in their mouth and like immediately bit down on it super hard without even tasting it, because you'd realise pretty fast that there isn't chocolate on it, and ultimately it's not your fault and it's not your responsibility. They could have done this with anything. The macadamia nut is irrelevant. They could have done this on anything, and they shouldn't be randomly eating stuff. And what, they're saying that it's your fault because it's your macadamia nut? You and your macadamia nut caused all of this mess. Yeah, but not really, you know? Yeah, it's not your fault, OP. It's definitely the kid's fault, and the way that your friend is handling it is super silly. Like, yeah, stuff at the dentist is ridiculously expensive. expensive, and that definitely would have been unexpected, but at the same time, it's not your fault. They're blaming everything but their kid. It's the evil macadamia nut that's the issue. But yeah, the expectation of you paying for at least half of it is wild. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my parents rename me? My 15 male parents gave my sister, 16 female, brother, 13 male, and me nature names, and more specifically, water nature names. My sister is Ocean, I'm Cove, and my brother is River. They wanted our names to have a theme without being matchy with the same initials, so we got our names. The story was told to us when we were little, and my parents were proud of the names they gave us. Back when we were all stuck at home, my parents started to express regret about their choices for us. They actually told us over dinner one night that they wished they'd given us better names, and apologized for making us live with the names that we were given. A few months after that apology, my mum and dad told us they wanted us to be Elizabeth, James, me, and Michael. They said that since we were kids and we weren't in college yet and nobody had their license at that point, it'd be the best time to do it. All three of us said that we didn't want to change our first names. My dad looked into whether they could do it when we said no, and all answers he got pointed to a very strong no, but it was also unusual to change our older kid's first name, so they went ahead and tried anyway. But once we were asked if we wanted different names, they were told no. My parents brought it up a lot to us afterward. My brother asked why they wanted to name him Michael and said the name was crappy. They told him Michael was a timeless name that would age well and gave him some nickname choices. He said he hated it, so they asked if he would consider Charles instead, which he said was an even bigger no. Our parents focused really hard on him for a while because he'd asked the question about the name, so they figured he was the most open. So far, none of us have agreed to the name change. I told my parents that I know they regret the names, but we're all used to them and we like our names and we don't want to go for more boring and common names. My parents argued that in the future we'll regret it and we'd have to pay for it ourselves when we're adults, and we realised having weird names does not age well. I asked why they can't let us get there if we ever do. They said that we should be thinking more of our futures, and they accused me of having a really bad attitude because I said James was as bad to me as Cove is to them now. They told me to look online and I did, and I saw a lot of hate for our names, but I told them it still didn't change my mind. My parents said that we should respect them enough as parents to allow this, and that we're all being disrespectful. Am I the a-hole? Oh my god, no, not even a little bit. These are your names that we're talking about, and if you guys don't have an issue with them, that's the end of it. And if they don't realise that, that's their issue, not yours. They should be like, you know, we don't really like these names anymore, but if you kids are still happy with them, then that's all that matters. But to try and force you guys to change them when they know that you like the names, what, they don't see an issue with that? And also the fact that they told you the names that you were gonna change your name to, that's hilarious. The top comment says, not the a-hole, I think Cove is a badass name. Also, it's wild to me they just suggested names they wanted you to change to, and didn't even ask you if you had a name that you'd rather be called. If you're worried about the future, you could always add a more traditional middle name, which you choose, and then you'll have the option in your professional life of going by your middle name if you prefer. Yeah, and also, ultimately, you don't need to worry about your name. Guarantee it's probably not going to cause that many issues, and it's your name and you like it. Like, think about Joaquin Phoenix's family. There's River Phoenix and there's also Rain Phoenix. When you think about River Phoenix or you think about Rain Phoenix, you don't think, oh, that's a weird name. It's a name, and also they're nice names. Yeah, wow, that's so wild. And yeah, you and your siblings are not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for kicking my daughter out of my house for being pregnant? I, 45 female, have a 27-year-old daughter. She has 6 kids between the ages of 10 and 11 months. There are 3 different fathers. She receives child support from 2 of them, and she's still with the 3rd one, and she has been for 5 years. My daughter works part-time, and her fiance is a chef full-time. They've lived with us for the past year and a half, due to getting evicted from their last home. The kids in them have our upstairs bedrooms. There's 2, but that's still crowded for 6 children. They're constantly asking me for help with phone bills. My husband and I haven't asked for any rent so they'd be able to save money and get a home, which I do not believe they're doing. I've put up with loud voices throughout all hours and waking up at different hours to cater to children because I love my grandchildren. I never complain to my daughter because I believe family is very important. It's just that my children are all grown up. My youngest moved out 4 years ago and my husband and I had hopes to remodel. We did not expect them to be living here this long. On Christmas Eve, my daughter gathered us all around and announced that they were pregnant with baby number 7. Everybody was all excited, but I felt dread. That would mean another child in our house with not much room. I looked over at my husband and I could tell he felt the same. We discussed it later and we decided that we were going to have to ask them to move out. Last night at dinner, I brought it up to my daughter and her boyfriend, and we told them they have 2 months to find a new place because we can't have another child here. My daughter started crying, saying that she couldn't believe that I'd throw her to the streets for having a baby, that this was completely unfair and not enough time. It's also kind of unfair to keep having kids in somebody else's place. I told her I was sorry, it was painful for me as well, but these living conditions were impossible. She demanded I give her more time or she'd go to the courts, and I told her, newsflash, the courts only give you 30 days. She then said my grandkids were going to be homeless because I was so selfish. She made a Facebook post where she was asking for rooms to rent, and her family don't give a crap about her. Am I the a-hole? No, you're definitely not the a-hole, OP. And the fact that they're not grateful for you is so bad. They have their 6 kids under your roof, and you're not charging them rent, and they don't see an issue with them having their 7th child. So including them and their fiance, there's 9 of them, and they think you're being unfair. They've been taking advantage of you, and now they're getting upset at you. And also, I know people can do whatever they want, but I don't know, maybe 7 kids is enough. Yeah, you're definitely not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for sending him a bill for $1,000 after him and his kid ate all of our food? I've been seeing Jack for 2 years now, but we live separately due to the kids, and wanted to make sure this is 100% all in before uprooting them. I have 2 sons, 13-year-old twins, and 1 daughter, 11. He has 1 daughter, 13. We do weekend stays together twice a month so far, and there's never been any major issues. The girls have gotten into a few party arguments, but other than that, no big issues. I spend around $1,000 a month in food, and that covers me and my kids plus Jack and his daughter for the 2 visits a month. I do a lot of meal prep and a lot of couponing. Last month, my mother asked me and my kids to go to her place in Louisiana to help her move out of her home and into a 50-plus community. It made me feel more comfortable to have my house occupied in my absence, to keep the dehumidifiers and everything running. We've got huge moisture issues, and I don't want anything to mold or rust, so I asked Jack if he and his daughter wanted to stay at my place for 2 weeks, just to keep everything running smooth. I gave it a 2-week time frame, but I was unsure of how long it'd actually take. I knew the drive alone would be 2 days there and 2 days back. He agreed. I did my monthly shop before leaving, and I spent $1,092. I told them they could have some of the food when we were gone, so maybe this is my fault. But anyway, we got back 2 days ago, 4 days before the 2-week mark, and found my house in ruin practically. Dirty dishes on the counters and table, dirty clothes in the living room and bedrooms, mine and my daughter's where they slept. I keep my house clean, so this caused a lot of panic on my end. I grew up in a hoarder house, so I take pride in a clean home. But the one thing that truly tipped me over the edge was finding that they went through at least 90% of the food I bought before leaving. In less than 2 weeks, we were left with a single pack of hamburgers, all the veggies and a few boxes of pasta. Jack started scrambling when we entered the home, saying, "Sorry, I was going to clean before you got back, but I didn't expect you so soon." I gave a hushed "please leave." He and his daughter left, but after giving it some thought, I told him that he had to reimburse us the $1,000 worth of food that he and his daughter ate. I told him that their intake was absolutely repulsive, that I said he could have some, not eat everything in the house and leave us with nothing. He said that he'd allowed his kid to have her friends over, and they ate a lot, but he shouldn't have to give me $1,000, given that I told him they could eat the food, that I have more than enough money, true, and he doesn't, also true. I still want to be reimbursed, however, and yeah, we split up. Am I the a-hole? Edit to add. This may make me sound bad, but I wouldn't consider him house sitting as doing me any favors. All he had to do was dump out the dehumidifier when it got full. I could have asked the neighbor to do that for $200. He and his daughter live in a small apartment, and coming to my house feels like a vacation to them. Their words, not mine. I have a 2-story home with 6 bedrooms on the beach with a hot tub and a game room, cable and high-speed internet. They were essentially getting a free vacation, and the only thing they had to do was dump the dehumidifier once a day. I more or less asked for the $1,000 off principle alone. I don't expect him to give me the money, but since he wasn't understanding my viewpoint on why it wasn't acceptable, I asked him for the $1,000 so he could open his eyes and understand how big of a deal it truly is. I did the big shop before leaving because I had work obligations scheduled for when I returned, and going out and doing a big shop in the middle of 4 showings and mandatory seminars would have been a nightmare. I didn't buy any fridge stuff outside of what I knew they would eat. Everything I bought were non-perishables, boxed dinners, and meat for the freezer. I didn't leave him over the food. I left him because after I tried explaining why this was wrong of him, he accused me of throwing my privilege and money in his face, knowing that he's not as financially stable as me, and making him and his daughter feel bad for doing nothing wrong. I've never thrown money in their face. I've never asked him for anything, and I have paid for everything in the past 2 years because he couldn't. Helped him with multiple bills and things that his daughter needed without any question. So he made me feel stupid, and I won't tolerate it. Wow, that's such a heavy one. I'm sorry, OP. But yeah, no, ultimately, I don't feel like you're the a-hole, and I feel like you know that, OP, but there's a lot of reassurance here in the comments. The top comment says, not the a-hole. Where I live, pet or house sitting would run about $50 a day, and my sitter provides their own food, so it would cost me about $5.50 for 11 days. To feed a family of 4 in an expensive market cost me like $2,000 a month. So even if they consumed half of the food, that would be excessive in my opinion. And number 1, there's no planet where it should be a reasonable expectation that it was a free-for-all on all the food worth $1,000. And number 2, even with friends over, how did they eat that much between 2 people in 11 days? And 3, if I saw my house in a complete pigsty when coming home early with a house sitter, I'd probably have a stroke. They're supposed to care for your house in your absence, not frantically clean like a guilty teen 5 minutes before you get home. And the fact that this isn't just some stranger that you'd expect the bare minimum from, but rather your longtime partner, who you'd think would have more care about your belongings and your feelings, makes it even worse. And OP said underread, the worst of it is that most of the food was wasted. There were pots and pans left with all the food that they cooked. They didn't even try to refrigerate it after cooking for leftovers. And also, on top of all of this, allowing all the daughter's friends to come over without even asking you about it. Yeah, no, that's so bad. You're for sure not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents to eat crap when they asked me not to let my stepsister have guys over anymore? I, 24 male, got my own place last year. More recently, my stepsister, 24 female, moved in with me. It's been great having her here. We get along great, something we already know. She pulls her own weight, and plus, living on your own can be pretty depressing sometimes, so that does help. I don't have any rules here for her since I want her to treat it like it's her house too. None of that my house, my rules type of crap that people play. I hate it. Last weekend she had a guy over. Our other sister, 15 female, video called us. We video call every night or two, and heard someone over and must have told our parents after the call because my mum mentioned us having guys over and how that's dangerous last time I saw her. Now my mum, dad and brother, 22 male, are calling and texting, pestering me to not allow my stepsister to have guys over. I basically only texted back, eat crap. She's a bloody adult and she can have whoever she wants over at her own house. Am I the a-hole? And OP left a comment here that said this. Yeah, definitely could have put it more respectfully, but unfortunately our parents aren't the type to listen if you aren't swearing at them. Well, yeah, there you go. I don't think you're the a-hole, OP. And like this comment says, not the a-hole, they sound overbearing AF. Yeah, 100% telling them what to do when they're not even in their house anymore. No, you're not the a-hole, OP. They can't be thinking they can do stuff like that. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend that if she couldn't keep up because of her disability, she just shouldn't have come? I, 26 female, have a pretty close group of friends. We have this one girl in our group, Sadie, 27 female. She has a disability that is mostly manageable through medication, but despite this, Sadie has a bad habit of forgetting to take her pills right before we do something that she isn't interested in doing. This time it was on a group trip we've been planning for over a year. Due to how high the cost of the trip was, we each decided to take a day and plan an activity that the whole group would participate in. We also rented a van together to get to our destination as that was the most ideal situation. The first issue with Sadie came up when getting to our destination. Due to the length of the drive, everyone was going to be driving an hour to get to our destination. Right before it was Sadie's turn, she had a flare-up and couldn't drive, so our friend took over. The next morning, my friend had planned a tour of the town. We all reminded Sadie several times to take her medication as this was an expensive tour and we did not want it to be cut short. Well, she'd forgotten and the tour had to be cut short. This is when I got genuinely upset because this was now my money being wasted, and during the week she had flare-ups pretty often. The actual fight that led to this post occurred on my day though. The previous day Sadie had no flare-ups. It was also her day to plan. This was because she'd set alarms to take her medication regularly so that she'd be okay. We all reminded her to please take her pills like that again. I decided to take all my friends on a trail ride on horses, as the trail rides in this town are known for being absolutely beautiful. We paid extra for a basics lesson prior to the trail. In the lesson we were all paired off based on experience and performance in the small arena that they had. I got paired with Sadie. Well, a quarter of the way through the trail, she started having a flare-up. I told her that I would not be turning around as this was expensive and that I was truly looking forward to this. She begged me to turn around. Finally, the ranger told us that I had to turn around with her as she was my partner. In the car, I told her that she knew how important this was to me and that she should have just taken the pills. She told me that I was being ableist and that I didn't know what the pills did to her. We got into a huge argument in which I said, if your disability can't take being a good friend, then maybe you shouldn't come on these trips anyway. While I agree that was harsh, I didn't think I was in the wrong considering that she had cost us so much money over the years for simply not wanting to do something. My other friends agreed that Sadie is inconvenient at times, but that I should have been more sensitive to her condition. I'm honestly torn on whether or not to apologize. Edit, after reading almost every comment, I spoke to Sadie on the phone and I apologized for the harshness of my tone. I tried to ask about more details on the medication that she does take and her condition in general, but she said that she doesn't share that information with anybody but her closest friends, as the symptoms can sometimes be embarrassing. I completely understood this and I did not push any further. We've decided to go out to lunch together on Friday, so I can understand a little bit more about her condition and how it affects her. Oh wow, I love it when the post sort of resolves itself. But yeah, once again, I don't think you're the a-hole. The top comment says, not the a-hole. I also have a health condition that can flare up, and while I'm not sure what's up with Sadie, if she doesn't want to take her meds, then she knows that she needs to stay home. She was able to keep on top of them for her day, but no one else's, and just happens to flare up before her turn to drive. Were there any other flare-ups on the drive, or just when it was her turn? Yeah, and like the comment underneath that one says, not the a-hole. If Sadie had flare-ups that messed up her own day, then the problems on the other days are understandable. The fact that she's problem-free when she's doing something that she wants implies that you're being manipulated. She's messed up the planned activities and costing you money. You deserve to be able to take a trip without that one person causing most of the issues. Yeah, definitely, you had the right to get upset about this OP, and it also sounds like you handled this super well. And yeah, hopefully the lunch went good. Am I the a-hole for taking away my family's gifts because of something I overheard? Context: me, 31 male, and my long-term boyfriend, 30 male, bought a house together last June. I have a big family, 8 cousins and around 20 nieces and nephews, and I'm the oldest of my generation. I also have a pretty high-paying job, and so does my boyfriend. My boyfriend hasn't had any contact with his family for over a decade, and has been coming to my family celebrations since before we were dating. Within my family, I'm known to be a bit of a splurger with gifts and stuff, and the kids are always excited for my gifts because they're usually big things, like Lego sets and things of the sort. Now with the story, so today, or yesterday, my family held a pre-Christmas celebration since we won't be able to meet up anytime this year after this week. It was held at me and my boyfriend's new house, the first family event that we've had here. My boyfriend really wanted to take part in the gift giving, so went all out with gifts, spending an average of $100 per person. He was so excited to give everybody their presents since we spent not only money, but also a lot of time picking everything for everybody. The festivities were a hit, and my boyfriend and I stepped away for a bit to have some quiet time together. While we rested on the stairs, we overheard my cousin, 17 female, chatting with my niece, 15 female. They were joking around about a few family members and mentioned my boyfriend and how he was too gay to function. Honestly, we didn't mind it too much. It's a movie reference and their kids. But then another cousin, 24 male, came in and began making harsher jokes, which the kids laughed at. These jokes brought my boyfriend to tears, and I refused to let that slide. When the gift trading began, I took them aside and I let them know that I wasn't happy with their comments and that they weren't okay to say. I told them to apologize to my boyfriend because it was unfair to him, and they refused because they were just jokes that we weren't meant to hear. Yeah, well, that's not what a joke is. I told them I didn't care and they had to apologize. They refused again, and I told them that since they don't respect him, they don't deserve the presents that we got for them. This got them to backtrack and say they'd apologize, but I told them it was too late, but they should still apologize. This is where I think I might have been too harsh. The youngest of my cousins told her mum, my aunt, that I was refusing to give her and the other two their presents, and she was angry about it. She told the parents of my niece and the male cousin's dad and partner about it, and all of them made a huge fuss. Me and my sister kicked them out, and when they tried to grab their presents before leaving, I stopped them and I rushed them out the door. The whole thing fell apart after that, and it ended very abruptly. So am I the a-hole for kicking them out and taking away their gifts over jokes? No, definitely not. Not only are you not the a-hole, but you also weren't being harsh. You could have been way harsher before you started being the a-hole, because you're not the a-hole, OP. That's revolting behavior, and it definitely needs to be spoken up about. And also, if your quote-unquote jokes are making people cry, you've got to be the least funny person in the world. What I'm trying to say is what they said were not jokes. They were being bloody awful. And they only said, oh, we were joking and you weren't meant to hear it, when you started calling them out on it and saying that they're not going to get presents, so they don't feel bad. So yeah, not only are they huge a-holes, but they're also huge a-holes in your house. The top comment says, not the a-hole, not the a-hole, not the a-hole. How are you going to treat somebody so bad at their function? Personally, that would be a recension of all future invites of those involved. And the fact that they made it out to be a grab for the gifts is disgusting. They didn't even come for the family. They came to get free stuff. And that level of toxic is never invited to our events. I'd truly not buy them gifts again. And to treat your boyfriend in such a manner only shows their respect for you and your life. I'll say it again, not the a-hole. Court adjourned. Yeah, 1,000,000%. And never have them at your house again. Oh, that made me mad. Some people are so awful. Yeah, and like this comment says, so according to them, the problem was that you and your boyfriend heard the jokes, not that the jokes were hurtful to begin with, not the a-hole. Yeah, that's right. Like, yeah, maybe don't be an a-hole, you know? Oh, that's so frustrating, and you're definitely not not the a-hole OP. The first one we're going to read today is called Am I the A-hole for wearing my wedding dress to somebody else's wedding? Please read the whole story before jumping to conclusions. I, 20 female, married my husband 2 years ago. We aren't rich and we don't care that much about weddings, so I wore my prom dress to my wedding. It's not a super fancy dress or anything, it's basically a long sequin dress in deep blue with one sleeve. For reference, there is a photo here, and I'll make sure that we put that on the screen. My friend Ciara, 22 female, was attending my wedding. Since the wedding, I wore it on a few occasions because it basically is the only fancy dress that I own. Recently, Sierra was getting married and I was obviously invited. The wedding color scheme was dark blue and she requested fancy attire, so I thought my dark blue dress would be fine. It's not white and it's not even remotely close to a wedding dress. I also didn't feel like wasting any money on another fancy dress that I wouldn't ever wear again, especially since we aren't rich. So I showed up at her wedding in my dark blue sequin dress. It wasn't standing out or anything. Most of the guests were wearing even more fancy dresses. However, when Ciara saw me, she lost it. She yelled at me in front of all the guests, in front of her husband and my husband, saying that what I did was horrible and that no one shows up to a wedding dress in a wedding dress. I tried to reason with her, saying that the dress isn't a wedding dress. It's the only fancy piece of clothing that I own. I wore it to multiple occasions before and after my wedding. She didn't listen and kept yelling at me to the point that her bridesmaids and her husband started trying to calm her down. She also said a bunch of unsavory names to me. I was very upset with the drama and I decided to leave with my husband. Then I started getting texts from Ciara, who blamed me for upstaging her on her wedding, for driving a wedge between her and her husband, since he said that she overreacted massively. Oh my god, how the hell is that OP's fault? Since he said that she overreacted massively and upset her friend over a dress, I decided to ignore them because I think she's being unreasonable, but a part of me does think I was an a-hole because I wore the dress to my own wedding. Oh my god, I can't believe they're blaming you, basically for their own actions. Sorry, I need to read that sentence again. Blamed me for driving a wedge between her and her husband, since he said that she overreacted massively and upset her friend over a dress. Well, hey, guess what? Maybe you shouldn't have overreacted massively. How is that OP's fault? And yeah, they literally told OP to wear something fancy, and like they said, they didn't upstage them even a little bit. Oh, this one is so frustrating. Yeah, like this comment says, this is your fancy occasion dress that you wore to prom and multiple other events and just happened to wear to your wedding. It's not a wedding dress, and Ciara manufactured a conflict where no one would have been the wiser. You didn't drive a wedge between her and her husband. She did by acting ridiculously. Not the a-hole, and Girlie's husband is right. She needs to get a grip. Yeah, definitely, this isn't your fault, OP. Like, yeah, of course, if it was a super fancy white wedding dress, then yeah, of course, you would be the a-hole. But that's not the case. From what you said, you didn't do anything wrong, and Ciara's making up an issue where there doesn't need to be one. Yeah, not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give up me extra seat for somebody else's toddler on a flight that I paid for because I'm fat? I, 34 female, am obese. I'm actively working towards losing weight and I've made progress, but I'm still obese as I'm typing this. I'm going over to see my brother and his husband for Christmas across the country, and because I am obese, I booked an extra seat so everybody can be more comfortable. I know it sucks having to pay for an extra seat, but it is what it is. I know Southwest Airlines has this customer of size policy, but I've had some bad experiences with Southwest, even before I was obese, so I wasn't doing that, and it's mostly my fault that I even got fat. Everything goes smoothly from checking in to security and boarding, at least at first. This woman comes up to me with a boy who appeared to be about a year old. She told me to squeeze into one seat so her son could sit in the other. She told me, not asked me. I told her no, and that I paid for this seat for the extra space. She made a big fuss over it, which got the flight attendant's attention. She told the flight attendant I was stealing the seat from her son. Oh my god. Why are people like this? Then I showed my boarding passes, proving that I in fact paid for the extra seat. The flight attendant asked me if I could try to squeeze in, but I said no. I wanted the extra seat I paid for. The boy, who the mum said is 18 months, was supposed to sit in her lap, so he could just do that. The flight attendant eventually told the mum to put her son in her lap. I got dirty looks and passive-aggressive remarks from her the entire flight, and I do feel a little bad because the boy looked hard to control. So am I the a-hole? No, you're not the a-hole. None of this is your fault. Like at the end there, where you said you felt bad because the boy looked hard to control. It's not your responsibility to make it easier for this person. You paid for your seat and the extra seat. There shouldn't be any issues here. And the other person who does have the kid shouldn't be so bloody rude. Yeah, you're definitely not the a-hole, OP. Am I the a-hole for suggesting that we lock up the Christmas presents after what my niece did last year? Every year, my siblings and I, alongside our families, spend Christmas with our parents. We stay at their house for a few days. Everybody opens gifts together. It is hectic, but it's a lot of fun. The kids enjoy having one big sleepover with their cousins, and my mum likes having everybody home again. We all pitch in. It's a win-win. Last year, my brother married Sally. She has a 7-year-old daughter, Mindy. This was their first Christmas with us. It seemed like they were having a fun time. Christmas Eve, all the kids went to the finished basement to sleep. We told the kids to not open up gifts without us, and to wake us up when they did. This was repeated several times. So once the kids were asleep, we put all the gifts under the tree and eventually went to bed ourselves. The next morning, around 6 a.m, I wake up early and I head downstairs. I find the living room a mess. Half of the gifts were unwrapped. Several of them had been ripped from their boxes. And there was Mindy playing with some of the toys. Most of the ones weren't even hers. She knows how to read and they were all labelled, so she knew this. I was in shock. I went and got my brother and Sally alongside the rest of the adults. Sally was super embarrassed. My mum was very upset. The other kids weren't up yet, so we tried to salvage what we could while Sally talked to Mindy. Not everything could be fixed, and she had broken a couple of toys completely. The broken ones weren't even her own toys. Luckily, not everything was damaged, and even the boxes that were, the kids didn't notice. But my nephew, sister's son, had one of his big gifts destroyed, and he was sad when everybody else got theirs, while he was told he'd have to wait for a new one to come back in. Sally and my brother reimbursed everybody. Mindy didn't get to open the gifts with everybody, but joined the festivities later. She did apologize, but kept on making excuses. She said that she didn't want to wait and she wanted to see what everybody else got. We're all preparing to go to my parents again this year. I put in the group chat that we should either lock the door to the living room this year or put a gate around the tree so nobody can get to it. I didn't even name their names, just specifically said no one. Sally and my brother got mad, accusing me of treating Mindy like a baby or an animal. I said I'm not, it's a precaution so none of the kids are tempted. They said this isn't necessary and that they're holding a mistake over Mindy's head. I said no, I'm not. I'm trying to make sure that we have no repeat. Yeah, well you kind of are holding the mistake over Mindy's head, but the real question is that fair enough? Probably, considering what they did, because I know it'll get asked. Mindy does not have autism or ADHD, and even if she did, my daughter has ADHD, and both my sister's kids are on the spectrum. They knew better. I don't think Mindy was malicious. She was only 6, but I do think that precautions should be made. My parents agree with me, and my brother is mad that I put it in their heads. Am I the a-hole? No, I don't feel like you're the a-hole, OP. Taking the precautions that you're talking about does definitely make sense, and of course, it is about Mindy. I can't really blame you though, considering what Mindy did. The top comment says, I mean, why wouldn't you do this? It kind of isn't just about Mindy, although of course it is about Mindy. She ruined Christmas and broke a lot of other people's toys, but you have a bunch of small children who are notoriously bad with impulse control. Why not lock the door or put a gate around the tree? Any child could be tempted by sleeping parents and gorgeously wrapped presents, all under a lit tree. She's still only 7. Also, if your kid is acting like a baby, they should be treated like one. Come on, Sally, the girl opened half of the Christmas presents, and you and your husband had to shell out to replace them. Wouldn't you rather lock the door to the room than risk having to put out and feel embarrassed all over again? Not the a-hole. Yeah, I feel like that comment is pretty true. If I was a kid that woke up on Christmas morning and I went out and I opened all the presents, ruining some of the presents as well, and the next year a family member said what OP said about having a precaution, I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's definitely fair enough. I did nearly ruin Christmas for everybody. Am I the a-hole for calling the police on my ex for abandoning his child at mine while his girlfriend was giving birth? I, 32 female, have been married to my ex Dan, 35 male, for 6 years before we divorced at the end of 2020 due to him cheating with Kate. Kate and Dan have a son who is 3, which was conceived and born during the pandemic while I was under high risk, and their entire affair has cost me some of my physical health, not just my mental. After the divorce, Dan moved out from my house and we haven't spoken since, and last week Dan suddenly dropped his son at my house without even giving me any warning or explanation. He only mumbled that Kate was giving birth to their second child and needs him in the delivery room due to complications. He left before I could even protest, and I've tried texting and calling multiple times and I haven't received a single reply. I don't know why he thought it's a good idea, as I had plans, and they definitely don't involve somebody else's child. I ended up calling the police and I've told them what happened and explained that it isn't my child and I haven't agreed to look after him, and his dad is not responding. They took the child and I didn't hear anything until the very early hours of the same day when my my ex called me calling me an a-hole as the cops found him in the hospital and basically forced him out of the delivery room so he can look after his child. So he missed the birth of his second, and Kate had some complications, so she is in intensive care. He also started shouting and saying that his and Kate's parents are living on the opposite ends of the country and have medical conditions which mean they can't look after his son. I told him that he should have used his brain cells and thought about it in advance instead of dumping the product of his affair at my house, knowing that me and him are not civil, but I was called an even bigger a-hole. I have mentioned this to some of my family and friends, and while some people are on my side, others are agreeing with my ex, saying that I should have looked after the kid and I was an a-hole for calling the cops. What? Nah, no way. This entire situation is so weird and also not your responsibility, even a little bit. Like, oh my god, this person cheated on you and then they dropped their child off at your house to look after. The bloody audacity from the ex-husband. Oh, that's so awful and ridiculous too. Like, this is not your issue. And also, how weird as well. Imagine you're with somebody and you're having a child with them, and then imagine you need somebody to look after your kid, and they were like, oh, I know who can look after my child. The ex that they cheated on? Nah. Like, yeah, it was probably their last resort, but still, that does not make it your responsibility. All of this is the result of the actions of the ex-husband, not you. The top comment says, not the a-hole. I mean, I do feel bad for that poor kid being dropped off at a total stranger's house, who then calls the police and the police take him to his dad, and his dad is all stressed out and furious. That must have been a hellishly traumatizing night for him. But you didn't decide to traumatize the boy like that. His dad did. Of course his dad should have had that figured out ahead of time, like what the plan was for looking after a 3-year-old if mum had to go to the hospital. Of course the plan should not have included dump boy on ex without any notice. Yeah, 1,000,000%. And if the ex-husband has any issues with this, they should be like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have dropped them off there. It was their actions that caused all of this. Yeah, nah, not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my in-laws' Christmas? Unless my sister-in-law removes the stocking that has a different name than the one I chose for my unborn son. To preface, I, female, have been with my husband Todd for 3 years. He has a son 9 from his late wife. Todd is pretty close to his sister Monica. Their mum deceased and Monica has basically taken over. She's nice to me and all, but she seems to be a bit more controlling, especially when it comes to Todd. But that wasn't a real issue until after I got pregnant, after we found the gender of the baby, boy. She insisted on the name Tommy, but I refused because I already had a name in mind, and Todd loves it, but he chose to stay out of the fight, saying that maybe we should just let Monica call him Tommy. Wait a second, let me get this straight. Your husband's sister thinks that they get to name your child? What? What the hell? No way. I can already tell you're not the a-hole, OP. And what does Todd mean? Maybe we should stay out of the fight, and maybe we should just let Monica call him Tommy? Hey Todd buddy, that's an awful idea. You don't just go, oh yeah, whatever, and let somebody else name your child, especially if your partner doesn't like the name. Oh my god. Oh yeah, that won't cause issues down the track. Is this a joke? I refused and I asked her to please respect me and the fact that I'm the mum, not her, and she said okay. Like always, she's hosting Christmas for the family this year and invited me and Todd to Christmas dinner. I was intending on coming, that is until I discovered that she hung up stockings with her kids, nephews and nieces' names and hung up a Tommy stocking saying that it's for my son. No way, this can't be real, can it? I was livid. Yeah, you should be. I lost it on her and there was a huge fight. I told her I won't be coming to her Christmas dinner if she doesn't remove the stocking or put the real name, and then I left. Todd started yelling at me. What is Todd's problem? And when we got home saying that I was attempting to ruin an important family tradition, I can't believe this. Has Monica put Todd under a spell? Todd, your sister is the problem, not OP, and said I was attempting to ruin an important family tradition by refusing to come and said that I was overreacting and cannot be telling his sister what she should or shouldn't do in her own home. He tried to convince me to come, but I said no, not until she removes that stocking, and it doesn't look like she's going to because he spoke with her and he's now mad at me for making a huge deal out of it. Her husband Philip, who's usually nice to me, called yesterday saying that he spoke with Todd and that he'd be devastated if I caused the family to miss the event at Monica's house and ruin it not only for the adults but for the kids as well, since my stepson loves spending the holidays with his cousins. Today has been quiet and the only way we communicate is through Philip. I feel ashamed and maybe I did overreact. Am I the a-hole? Okay, so the only thing that makes any sense here is that Monica is a wizard and Monica is controlling the minds of her family. This is unbelievable. And what the hell is Todd doing? doing? Todd is your husband. They're talking about naming your child, and Todd is telling you to get over it and let his sister name your child. This is infuriating. Like, yeah, Monica is the problem here, but OP's husband Todd is not doing the right thing here. Yeah, like this comment says, are you seriously trying to tell me there's a whole family of adults who agree that it's acceptable that the aunt name her unborn nephew without the consent of the actual parents? What the F did I just read? Of course you're not the a-hole. And if I were you, I'd consider gifting my husband binoculars so he can look for his spine. As the child of a mum who didn't leave or work on a family or marital dynamic like this, I can tell you, it doesn't get any better. It gets so much worse. I'd be running in the opposite direction. The entire family has lost their mind. Like, I can't believe they're making OP feel like they're in the wrong here. That's so awful. Imagine being in the position that Monica is, where one of your siblings is having a child, and you have the audacity to think that you have any say in what they name their kid. Like, that's hilarious in itself. Yeah, nah, not the a-hole OP. Am I the a-hole for freaking out at my husband's thoughtful gift? Yesterday was my birthday. My husband was getting on my case lately about buying too many peppermint mocha lattes from Starbucks. He's hyping up this gift that he was going to give me first thing in the morning, so he surprised me with a homemade peppermint mocha latte that he made. The twist is that he made it with essential oils that some random lady at a health food store assured him was okay. I have a panic attack after he tells me that he fed me essential oils. I felt enraged and I hated when I looked on the essential oil bottle and it clearly states it was for use in a humidifier. He didn't even read the bottle before deciding to make me this sweet gesture with it. I've never been interested in essential oils, so he has no reason to think I'd want to ingest this. He says he isn't the a-hole because how could he know a shopkeeper would lie? Am I the a-hole for blowing up and telling him I'm so disappointed? Update, Poison Control said I'll be fine. And it's probably the panic attack that effed up my stomach. He bought the food safe peppermint so that he can redo the drink safely now. Husband understands that I'm not an essential oil gal and won't be giving me any more ever. Okay, I don't understand. Why would you want to flavor a drink with essential oils? They smell good. They don't taste good. That logic is like eating deodorant, isn't it? And also, say you had a partner and they absolutely love peppermint lattes, and then you were like, oh my god, I have a great idea. I'm going to make them a homemade peppermint latte. Why then would you not look up a recipe or something? You know, like, why would you trust to use a peppermint essential oil? That's so wild. Like, were they just making a random concoction and hoping that it tasted good or something? Yeah, no, that's so confusing, and you're not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for expressing to my in-laws that I don't want to be their server for their family Christmas dinner? So, I'm a newlywed and my in-laws are rolling into town for Christmas and staying at my husband's and my new house. They mentioned wanting to dine out for Christmas dinner, but I offered to whip up a home-cooked feast instead. Unfortunately, they turned down the offer. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I'm currently working as a server in our town after recently being laid off from my corporate job. Lucky for me, the restaurant is shut on Christmas Eve and Christmas. Well, turns out my mother-in-law had other plans. She called up my workplace without even speaking to me beforehand and was asking for me to be their server for their entire Christmas dinner. I found out through my husband that I'd be playing the role of their server for their festive family celebration, and my Christmas gift would be a sweet tip and takeout from my restaurant. Seems a bit odd, especially since our restaurant isn't even going to be open on Christmas Eve or Christmas, and I'd be available to spend time with them on those days. They're scheduling this dinner the day before we close and making it their designated family celebration. Wow, the absolute audacity. I politely declined because let's be real, being excluded from Christmas dinner while working as their server, yeah, that's a hard pass from me. Unfortunately, I was told that I was being dramatic, and there's nothing weird about me being their server for their family Christmas dinner. Thoughts, anyone? Oh my god, how dare they? They think you're being dramatic because you don't want to do this? God, they sound awful. Why are in-laws always so bad? Every time we read about in-laws or mother-in-laws or anything, they're always the most awful people ever. Yeah, you haven't done anything that's even a little bit a-holy, but them on the other hand, edit, wow, I'm truly amazed by the overwhelming support I've received. I never expected this post to gain so much attention. Thank you to everybody who took the time to read and respond. I took the opportunity to establish clear boundaries during a FaceTime session, emphasizing that such behavior is not acceptable, particularly considering the racial and economic differences between us. As a biracial woman from a lower class family, it was crucial for me me to assert myself and to not dismiss their behavior. I might take some time to respond to messages as there's a lot to sift through. Thank you all for standing with me. You've all helped me so much. Thank you. Edit/update number 2. Mother-in-law was upset that I'd taken a stand against her Christmas plans. My husband stood by my side through it all, supporting the decision to uninvite everyone who supported this decision. We're now focusing on creating a Christmas atmosphere that's positive and stress-free, sans the drama. Your words truly gave me the strength to navigate this challenging situation. If anyone has similar stories or more advice to share, I'm all ears. Yeah, no, you're 100% in the right. And I can't even stress enough how in the wrong the other people are. Like, yeah, you're not even invited to the dinner, but they want you to be the server. And also, it's not like it was your idea or something. It was their idea and they're trying to get you to do it. And yeah, it's super demeaning and degrading. The top comment says, not the a-hole. Damn, that's insulting and spiteful AF. We don't want you to cook or be a participant in our Christmas celebration, but we'd love to come to your workplace and have you service. So yeah, technically you're there with us, but you can't contribute to the conversation and you're required to be polite because it's your job. And to say that your gift is the tip and takeout, what the ever-loving you-know-what kind of BS is that? I tell your boss that you request to not serve them, or switch with a co-worker or call out last minute or something. How in the hell does your husband not see the offense in their actions and isn't supporting you? Yeah, oh my god, they suck. And yeah, you're definitely not the a-hole. And yeah, you're doing the right thing, OP. If I were you, I wouldn't go anywhere near them for a long time. The next one is called, am I the a-hole for cancelling my best friend's bachelorette party after she fired me as a bridesmaid? I'm gonna try and sum this up the most I can. I'm a full-time student, so I'm currently living off student loans and what little hours I can work outside of school. I've spent around $1,000 on my best friend's wedding so far, $350 on the flight home to attend the wedding as I'm away for school, and about $100 on the gift I sent for her bridal shower. The maid of honor is currently very pregnant and having a rough time. She asked me to plan the bachelorette party. I agreed. I planned it perfectly and I had it as a surprise. I messaged the other girls the plan. When they all agreed, I went ahead and booked my idea. I spent, this is on top of the $1,000 I spent earlier, $400 on a limo to go bar hopping. The bride loves bar hopping, and I booked us a $700 Airbnb to crash in after. As of right now, the other bridesmaids did not chip in. This was out of pocket, but they said they'd pay me back later. About a month later, and 2 other girls got kicked from the bridal party group chat, along with a paragraph from the bride saying that we were no longer invited because we weren't quote-unquote honoring her wishes when asked. She didn't answer what she meant or what we'd done wrong. 2 days pass and she adds us back to the chat and apologizes, saying that she was just stressed. We all talk about it and we made up. Yesterday the same happened, except this time I'm the only one who got removed, with a paragraph going off on me, telling me that I'm not respecting her or her wishes, that she wishes that she never invited me or asked me to be a bridesmaid. When asked what happened or what I did wrong, again, radio silence. Today she messages me apologizing, saying that she's sorry for lashing out and that she'd like me there but not as a bridesmaid, as it would make her uncomfortable, and I'm not allowed to wear the dress I'd already bought as it's a bridesmaid's dress. I told her I respectfully declined as I couldn't afford another dress as I've already spent too much on this wedding and that I didn't want to make her uncomfortable on her big day. She then lashes out, telling me that I should just take more from my student loans to buy a second dress. So with that, I went and I cancelled the Airbnb and the limo. I told the other bridesmaids what had happened and they agreed it was fair. One of them must have told the bride about the secret bachelorette party, as she messaged me telling me that I'm an a-hole and I've ruined her entire wedding as she now doesn't have time to book a new bachelorette party in time, and she nor any of the other bridesmaids have the money or savings to book anything. I also managed to get the refund for my flight, so really I'm only at about $450 for a wedding I'm no longer invited to. Am I the a-hole for cancelling the party and getting the money back? No, of course not. They 1,000,000% brought this on themselves. Why the hell do they feel like they can say awful stuff to you and then apologize as if it's okay? Like, oh, sorry for lashing out, like it's an excuse. And also, not to mention all the trouble you've gone to for this wedding and all the money you spent on it. There's also a comment here from OP. Yes, I didn't include this part, sorry, my bad. So the first time she messaged us, she didn't tell us nor explain what we were doing wrong. When we first all discussed it, she said that she just had a moment of panic and stress took over, and she said things that she didn't mean. The most recent time, she told me that she'd be uncomfortable due to the fact that we had a fight. The fight was her just removing me from the group chat and then cussing me out. She never told me what I wasn't respecting her wishes on, but I will say she did know she had a bachelorette party, but the surprise was what it was going to be. I have spoke to the maid of honor since this post, and she said the bride told her that she didn't know how she felt about a skinny girl being next to her at the altar. Yeah, you need some new friends, OP, because this is not not a friend. The bride definitely isn't your friend. The way they speak about you and the way they obviously view you, yeah, no, these aren't the actions of a friend. And yeah, you're for sure not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that my kids won't attend Christmas if everybody can't attend? My husband was injured when we were in high school, almost 18 years ago now, and uses a wheelchair now. We have 4 children, his 15-year-old son from a previous relationship, an 8-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old son, and a 1-year-old daughter. My parents usually host a big Christmas every year with all the kids and their families. Sometimes it's at their home and sometimes it's at a vacation destination. In previous years, it's always been accessible for my husband, but this year they've chosen to have it at a mountain ski resort that's largely inaccessible and would have a lot of activities that would leave my husband out, so we told him we're going to do our own thing for Christmas. No biggie, right? They responded by saying, how about you send the kids and you can do your own thing?
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
We responded that we wouldn't be sending our kids and that if we couldn't all attend, nobody would attend. They're upset and they're accusing us of withholding the kids from something that brings them joy and being bad parents. Are we the a-hole? No, of course you're not. These have all been very obvious. Like, of course you're not the a-hole. The top comment says, not the a-hole. This is amazing. Of course not the a-hole. They've excluded your husband from Christmas and their solution is, oh, that's okay. You can just split up your entire family for the holidays. Do they have a problem with your husband? Because honestly, I'd almost feel like this would be less awful if they'd done it on purpose than if they'd been that level of ignorant towards him and your whole family. I can't believe they think you're bad parents. They owe you a huge apology and your husband. Oh, it's so frustrating when people think that the other person is in the wrong when they themselves are being awful. Yeah, you're definitely not the a-hole, OP. The next one is called, am I the a-hole for telling my brother, I guess you go to jail? I, 32, and my brother Tim, 24, has been trying to go to film school. In July, I got a flag on my credit report. Someone tried to co-sign my name on a private student loan. I found out that my brother somehow got the information from my mum, thinking that I wouldn't notice. Tim is on the spectrum. He doesn't have great judgment, but my wife was pissed because we're living with my in-laws on the other side of the country, saving up for a home once if the interest rates drop, and I have kept my credit flawless, so I did the things you're supposed to do to report it for fraud. I tell my mum and she doesn't say much. It slowly comes out that my brother couldn't get a loan, and he found some paperwork about my parents' will that had my social security number on it, just laying around. He couldn't get the loan without a cosigner and put me down. It takes months for this to come out, so my wife and my in-laws pressured me to file charges on Tim. I told my mum what Tim did was wrong and illegal. My mum started crying and handed the phone to Tim, and I explained to him about what he did and that he needs a lawyer. Again, Tim is autistic and started panicking about what will happen to him after the headache of his actions, and I said, I guess you go to jail. Since then, Tim went into a bad state and his meltdown caused him to be on psychiatric hold. He's in bad shape and my family blames me because he keeps saying I'm going to jail. I don't know if he actually would for what he did, but because of what I told him, he's regressed pretty bad and has been in a panic for weeks and isn't getting any better. My parents did get him a lawyer to try to calm him down, but he's back in the hospital again for another stay. I feel like the mum is the issue here, and also what the brother did was wrong, and they obviously know they shouldn't do that. There's a comment here that says something just doesn't add up. If he really is as incapable as your mum portrays him, how would he have gotten the idea to use your info to make you a co-signer? I feel like there's more information that your mum isn't telling you and probably never will. It sounds like they both, brother and mum, thought we'll get the co-sign loan and since we'll pay it off, OP will never have to know a thing. I wonder why your mum didn't just co-sign for him instead of likely helping him pursue this course of action. Being on the spectrum isn't an excuse for criminal behaviour. If he's sharp enough to go to film school, I gotta think he's also not so far on the extreme end of the spectrum that he can't understand the difference between right and wrong. Not the a-hole. Yeah, there's definitely more stuff going on here. The top comment says not the a-hole. Identity theft and fraud are serious crimes. Has he ever been held accountable for his actions? And OP says, not really. My mum always covers for him saying that he was autistic. He knows right from wrong because he always acted like this when he got caught doing something bad. Yeah, it sounds like the mum has been the real enabler in all of this. Am I the a-hole for calling my girlfriend a biatch for lying about an emergency to test my commitment? My girlfriend Andrea, 29 female, and I, 29 male, have been together for a few months now. Everything had gone smooth until yesterday when she pulled off a ridiculous stunt. She called me late at night to say that she's seriously injured and having panic attacks and that no one else is with her as her parents are out, which was true, they were out. She said she also got some chest pains and she thinks she's dying and that she's in a really bad state and can hardly breathe. She was heaving while we spoke. She begged me to help her, said that she'd already called 911, but that she also wanted to let me know, and I was shocked. I took my car and I rushed to her house, and it was only after reaching there that I found out that she was joking about it. She met me joyfully and said that she only wanted to see how committed I am during an emergency, as that's an essential part of a relationship or something.
Okay, red flags all over the place.
I lost my temper and I asked her what the hell her problem was. She said that she was just testing me, and I got pissed off. I called her an effing biatch and I told her that I did not deserve to be treated like trash and made use of like that. She was crying by saying that she only wanted to check whether I'm a good fit and that I overreacted. I left the house immediately and I haven't talked to her since. She's been texting me, but I just ignored her. Am I the a-hole? Wow, yeah, you do not do stuff like that to your partner. Testing how committed you are. That's the most childish, red flag, immature sort of thing ever. Yeah, like this comment says, she was testing your commitment. All she did was prove to you that she doesn't deserve your trust or respect you as a person. Just tell her she made a great commitment test and thank her. Her test made you realize that she's not someone that you can commit to. Saved you a lot of time and trouble in the long run. And the comment above that one says, no, she's the a-hole. Testing you like that was a pathetic and childish thing to do. Find a new girlfriend. Not even married couples do that. She would have found out how committed you were when your relationship got to that stage. That's your red flag. Don't ignore it. And you called her an effing biatch in sheer anger. You had every right to be angry. I would have been just as angry and said something similar. OP did update this and said, after talking to her about it, I have decided to give her a second chance. She's apologized a lot and promised to never do that again. I'd be more careful, of course, and I won't be trusting her blindly, but I have thought that I'd give her one chance, especially since she's shown herself to be regretful. Yeah, that's a wild thing to do. And yeah, she didn't even consider how you felt or even think about how this would make you feel. Yeah, stuff like that isn't cute and funny, it's awful. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend's boyfriend that he shouldn't have been allowed to eat? Some friends and I decided to do the trend where we have a dinner and everybody brings a food that starts with the first letter of their name. There's one friend of ours that's a bit of a moocher. Whenever we go out, she never pays for stuff, whether it's the dinner bill or tickets for the movies. We always end up paying for her, but everyone accepted this and doesn't really have an issue with it. However, recently it's become worse. She's been dating this guy for a couple of months and she brings him everywhere with her, even when he's not invited. So now we have two people to pay for. Also, I feel like I have to say that they do have jobs and they're not struggling. It'd be different if they were broke, then of course I wouldn't mind. But yeah, we had the dinner last night and everybody brought food and put a lot of effort into it. These two, however, showed up with absolutely nothing, not even a bottle of soda. We were annoyed, but nobody said anything. It wasn't until the end of the night when they were leaving that I cracked a little. The friend's boyfriend was taking home all of the barbecue ribs that were left. What? I repeat, all of it, and it was a lot. Like, damn, be considerate at least. He emptied the entire tray of ribs into a container. Oh my god. I would never speak to these people again. How awful and rude do you have to be to do something like that? That's when I politely asked, can you maybe not take all of it? The others might want some too. He got all defensive and asked, why are you treating me like I'm stealing all the food? That's exactly what you're doing. What do you mean? He got angry, plopped the ribs back down and said, fine, I don't need your food. To which I replied, it kinda seems like you do, and to be honest, you shouldn't have eaten it all since you didn't even contribute again, as usual. Then my friend came, took him, and just left without saying anything. Now apparently she's angry with us, mainly me.
Would you excuse me for a moment?
Oh my god, the audacity! How self-centered and entitled are these people? Most of my friend group doesn't think I did anything wrong, but there are a couple who are saying that I shouldn't have said anything. What do you mean? Sorry, this one is so infuriating. Like, this person takes all of the food. They're lucky that that's all you said to them. The thing is that I didn't even say anything to my friend because I don't mind that she doesn't contribute. Her boyfriend was the one irritating me. He eats the most food but doesn't contribute, drinks the most alcohol, doesn't contribute, orders really expensive meals at restaurants, doesn't contribute towards the bill. Oh my god. What? So I'm editing the video right now and it's actually kind of frustrating how much OP is going along with this, and I don't feel like I said that enough in the video. Like, why have you been putting up with these people and paying for them? Like, I don't think the friend group should have ever started paying for their friend, like on a frequent basis anyway. It's okay if it's every now and then, but they can't expect that you're gonna pay every time. And yeah, OP and the rest of the friend group should have put a stop to this a long time ago. Okay, I think that's all I had to say. Thank you for watching, guys. I guess I got kind of annoyed and snapped at him. I tried phoning her to clarify that I don't have any issue with her, but she's ignoring me. I don't know, maybe I should have left well enough alone. Okay, so first of all, your friend group has been far too kind to these people. If you're at a nice restaurant and somebody is ordering expensive stuff and they don't contribute to the bill, then guess what? They have an issue that they can take up with the restaurant. Why the hell should you pay for them? God, they sound so immature and entitled. Yeah, like the top comment says, you're not the a-hole for this event, but why do you and your friends tolerate them mooching like that? Tell them they need to pay their own way and do it. If you go to a movie, buy your own tickets and let them pay or leave. Get separate checks at restaurants, and when the server first comes to the table, tell them you'll need separate checks. As a former restaurant employee, I can tell you that it is fairly easy to split a check, especially if you know it'll be split before you even start entering things, and a royal pain to go back and split a check that you entered together. You and your friends have been complete doormats. When you let bad behavior repeatedly go unchallenged, it never stops and it often worsens. Yeah, they sound terrible, but you need to stop tolerating it. And yeah, I feel like OP's only issue is they put up with this crap for so long. Oh my god, I feel like that was rage bait or something. Imagining people like that, they sound so frustrating. Oh, I can't believe that. And they're getting upset at you? Unbelievable. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that she's an idiot if she thought that her actions at her wedding wouldn't have consequences? P.S. I'm on my phone. So a bit of quick backstory. My biological dad died when I was young, and my mum remarried when my sister was 8 and I was 10. We're now in our late 20s. Stepdad focused a lot of his time providing for us, so I never got very close to him, but I am grateful for him. I'm engaged and my sister is going to marry in about a month. My wedding will be in a year. Both of us are close to our mum though. My sister, who I'll call Noelle, messed up in my opinion. At first I was on her side, but now I just sort of feel bad for my stepdad. Noelle isn't going to have him walk her down and give her away. I understand this is her decision, and when that came out, I helped my mum and stepdad understand that it was her choice. The turning point happened last week when she told us that he will not be sitting at the family table. When asked why, she made it clear that he wasn't family to her. Again, her right, but damn, he's the reason that we had such a good childhood and are debt-free. He paid for college and worked a ton. I knew this would result in them not going to the wedding, and they informed my sister. She called me upset and was ranting about how it was her wedding, that she was being abandoned. Oh, get out of here. I had enough, and I told her that she's an idiot if she didn't think that her actions wouldn't have consequences. She called me a jerk and hung up. I'm unsure if I was a jerk, and I feel guilty since I'm now closer to my parents, since I promised he can walk me down at my wedding. No, you're not a jerk, your sister is. And the audacity of your sister to say that she feels abandoned. Like what, maybe how the stepdad feels? God. Did they not think about for even a second what they would feel like when they said stuff like this? And yeah, not to mention that it sounds like you had a good stepdad. Your sister was pretty much only thinking about herself and being pretty hurtful in the process. The next one is called, Am I the a-hole for refusing to make my half-sister look better on her wedding day by showing up? My half-sister and I share a mum. She's 9 years older than me, 17 female. Her dad died when she was 5. Mum remarried to my dad when she was 8 and got pregnant with me straight away. Until I was 10, I thought she was the best person ever, and I wanted us to have a relationship like my friends had with their siblings, but she's rejected me as not being her real sister from day one. She also rejects my dad as anything other than quote-unquote my mother's you-know-what buddy, and she's called him that to his face in front of other people. Oh my god, how awful. My dad always lets it slide, and mum will tell her that we're a family, to which my half-sister will say she's family, but my dad and I are not. Yeah, nah, the half-sister sounds so bad. When I was 6, my brother was stillborn when mum was about 6 months pregnant with him. She had grandma come over to watch my half-sister and me while she was in hospital, and we were told that something had happened to our brother. I was really upset because I'd been so excited and I wanted comfort from my half-sister. She told me to grow the F up and stay away from her. Oh my god. She also told me it was a shame the same thing didn't happen to me when mum was expecting me. Okay, so why is this even on this subreddit? Like, of course you're not the a-hole. Grandma was horrified and told her she'd regret saying that, but my half-sister told me that she wouldn't regret saying that about someone that she didn't love. The breaking point was that Christmas when I was 10. She decided to stay with a different family member for Christmas, but did show up to our grandparents for Christmas Day celebrations. I was excited to see her, and I thought the fact that she showed up meant that she might like me now, but after I tried talking to her, she turned on me and said that she didn't give an F about me or my life, and didn't want me to know anything about hers. She called me pathetic and asked me why she would care about somebody like me. She told me that if she could turn back time, she would have begged for mum to have an abortion because I was disgusting. It was at that point where I think I hit the point where where I was like, you know what, fine. Over the last 7 years, I've seen her maybe 3 times. She avoids being where I will be, and she has made it clear to mum that if mum wants to see her, dad and I are not welcome, and we're not invited into her life. What a terrible person, straight up. Except now she's getting married and she invited me and wanted me there because questions were asked. Mum was so happy when my half-sister told her she really wanted me there. Mum was so eager to tell me. My half-sister even showed up to invite me personally, but I told her I wouldn't go. She explained that she needed me and why, and I told her I'm not going to make her look better by showing up. Ugh. I said that she wants me dead. I don't want her in my life, and it's as simple as that. Mum cried that we're siblings, and I told her I lost my only sibling when my brother was stillborn, that he would have been my only sibling because my half-sister sure as hell wasn't a sibling for me. She made it clear many times over that she didn't want it to be. My half-sister and mum both feel like I'm really in the wrong. Am I the a-hole? Your mum feels like you're in the wrong? Is this some sort of sick joke? This toxic-ass half-sister just said that they only want them there to make them look better, and the mum is like, oh, I guess I'm gonna be upset at you. What? Oh, this one makes me mad. I really hope it isn't real. Sorry, by the way, I know I shouldn't doubt whether or not it's real, but only because the people in it are so awful. Oh, I'm so sorry, OP. And yeah, of course you're doing the right thing. Not only have they said possibly the most vile stuff ever to you, and made it clear so many times that they pretty much hate you, but the bloody reason they want you at the wedding is so that they look better. Also, by the way, that's not how that works. If you're this toxic and nasty of a person, nothing in the bloody world can make you look good. Yeah, wow, that was unbelievable. And also, just the part where they said that your dad is their mum's F-buddy, like that was a huge enough red flag, let alone all this other stuff. And of course, there are thousands of comments here saying that they're not the a-hole. Cause yeah, how could OP have done anything in this? Straight up revolting behavior from the half-sister. Like I'm sure you guys have noticed in my videos, but I don't like to judge somebody's character entirely from what we read, and I try to avoid being mean or saying that somebody is a terrible person, because I feel like it's not my place to say stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes it's so unbelievably obvious. Like, oh yeah, okay, I don't feel like this person could say anything worse, and then they do, multiple times. Am I the a-hole for kicking my mother-in-law out of my house? For trying to convince my daughter to give her baby to my sister-in-law? I, 34 female, have been married to my husband for 10 years. We have 2 daughters together, 7 and 5. I have a daughter from a high school relationship who is 17. My daughter is 7 months pregnant. The father is in her life. They both are working hard, saving money. I've already had the necessary talks with my daughter, but she's dead set on being a mother to this child. My sister-in-law, 35, has struggled with fertility and basically has been told that she can't have children. They've been actively trying or just not using protection for the past 10 years and only conceived twice, ending in early miscarriages. My mother-in-law already brought up the idea of letting sister-in-law adopt this baby, which we told my daughter's wishes. The other day I came home from work and my mother-in-law was over, and I overheard her talking to my daughter about the idea, telling her how she wouldn't be fit to be a mother and sister-in-law is much more prepared, and how she wouldn't want to repeat the cycle because I had her so young. She then pulled a guilt trip and told her how sister-in-law's dream is to have a child. I simply opened the door and just said, "Get out." She stared at me in complete disbelief and then said I couldn't kick her out of her son's house. I said I can, and I just did. She left, but when my husband got home from work, he said he had a ton of messages about how I'm in the wrong and how I'm setting my daughter up for failure. My husband is on my side. Am I the a-hole? No, and once again, of course not. The top comment says not the a-hole. While I can't imagine the tough journey that your sister-in-law is on as she navigates her fertility struggles, your daughter's circumstance is not a patch job for your sister-in-law situation. There are tough conversations to be had when one is pregnant without planning it, regardless of age, but it was not your mother-in-law's place to have any of those conversations, and she didn't even approach it as a conversation. She was trying to manipulate your daughter emotionally. She deserved to get kicked out. She has no respect for boundaries or decency. Food for thought. Could you or your husband touch base with sister-in-law to see if she knew that mother-in-law was doing this? I hope she was unaware, but if she wasn't, it may necessitate a conversation with both mother-in-law and sister-in-law about boundaries and what is and not their place in regards to your daughter's pregnancy. Although I also encourage you to check with your daughter to see if she is willing and comfortable to have you advocate on her behalf this way. Yeah, 1,000,000%, and the comment under it too. Not to mention that the father of the child also has a say, and it sounds like he wants to be involved. They can try to bully OP's daughter, but they can't just go try to bully her boyfriend into giving up his child. Yeah, once again, unbelievable, and you're definitely not the a-hole. The next one is called, am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend to order whatever he wants for dinner, and then getting upset with his choice? I, 20 female, have been dating this guy, 28 male, for about 7 months. I'm not a picky eater at all, but I am allergic to shellfish, and he knows that. When deciding what to eat, I told him he could pick, and he ordered shrimp scampi for 2. I was annoyed because I can't eat that, and he got defensive because I told him it was his choice, and that's what he chose. I didn't think I had to specify, you can pick something for us, but we both have to be able to eat it. I thought that was implied. Why order food for someone knowing that they can't eat it? But he thinks that whatever means whatever, and that it's my fault. Am I the a-hole? Edit, just to clarify, we always take turns deciding where to eat or where to order, and we eat together a lot, so we know what the other person likes and doesn't eat. We usually decide for ourselves, like, you want to order from so-and-so place, get me this, but at times we just have the other person order, like if one of us is running late or busy with something else. I was in the shower when he told me he was ordering Italian, so I just yelled for him to pick something. He's aware that I can't eat shellfish, and he's also aware that shrimp are shellfish, and he was aware that he was ordering for me as well since he got 2 portions. Edit number 2, I'm sorry if it wasn't clear. We take turns picking where to eat. We don't usually order for each other, but we have if the other person was late or busy. Yeah, no, once again, you're not the a-hole. Like, why would they do this? And also, why the hell are they upset about it? Like, this shouldn't be an issue in the first place. They should be like, oh yeah, okay, I really shouldn't have done that. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I won't do it again. But the fact that they think you're wrong about this? How? Like, what do you mean, bro? Come on. I feel like this one's annoying because it didn't need to happen. It's so bloody easily avoidable. And I feel like the fact that they can't go, you know what, I am definitely wrong about this, and just admit it and say sorry is kind of immature. And I don't want to say it, but it might be why they're 28 and they're dating a 20-year-old. And like the top comment says, not the a-hole. If I was making a dinner choice and I was given the option for whatever A, I wouldn't even order anything remotely physically near shellfish knowing that it could seriously hurt you. And B, consider what you like eating. I'm a little perplexed by his choices. I could get maybe he forgot that you hated pickles or ketchup or something and didn't have those omitted, but something that can make you sick or possibly kill you. I don't know how somebody forgets that at all. Yeah, 100%. And they're not even saying that they forgot it, are they? Their argument is that OP said get whatever, so they should be able to get whatever. Yeah, no, you're not the a-hole, OP. And also, out of everything you could have had for dinner, chooses something that has shrimp in it. Like, think about all the other options there would have been. But no, has to get shrimp. And also, I feel like if I did this by accident, or if somebody else did this by accident, even though this doesn't seem like it is an accident, but say you accidentally ordered shellfish and you forgot that your partner couldn't eat it, you'd immediately be like, oh crap, sorry, I didn't even realize, I didn't think about it. And you'd be apologetic, you wouldn't get defensive about it. But yeah, I don't think this was an accident. They must have been craving it or something and felt like it was a chance to have it. Yeah, super confusing. The next one is called, am I the a-hole for not passing on an heirloom to my daughter-in-law? I'm 48 female and my eldest is 22 male. He's been with his fiancée daughter-in-law since they were 20 and he does want to marry her. I'd always liked her before now. She's a smart girl. She fits in well with the family and she's driven and she makes my son happy. Everything was all roses until they got engaged. Now, since I was little, I've been fascinated with jewelry. When I was older and married, I had my own income, so I started to collect rings. I would quote-unquote design them myself. I used to ask friends and family to give me cash I could put towards them and then save up my disposable income towards whatever ring I wanted. Edit 2. Okay, so apparently this above paragraph is controversial. It's the custom of my family since always to give cash in celebrations. It's also very normal in my community to ask your friends to give cash. I have done this myself for my friends. However, the majority of the cost of each piece of jewelry was always borne by me. Whatever I got from birthdays was a bonus top-up, not something I relied on to be able to afford it. It'd be less than 10% of each piece, definitely not the bulk. 10% being the highest, but mostly it was around 3 to 4% if any. Sorry, but quite a few comments are being derailed by this. I wasn't buying one every year, but over time I have a nice collection of rings. My favorites are a sapphire with a halo of diamonds, an emerald in a trilogy with 1 carat diamonds either side, and a ruby set in a parfait band. After my son got engaged and we invited him and daughter-in-law to dinner at home, daughter-in-law asked to speak to me. She said that she'd been seeing my emerald ring over the years and she always wanted one. She pointed out that I wear it less often, which is true, and demanded that I gift it to her as an heirloom engagement ring. This is in addition to other wedding gifts and expenses that we had discussed as a family during dinner. This includes gold to the value of approximately £6,000, which is more than my entire wedding cost, and which I still think is a significant amount. This rubbed me the wrong way, and I admit I did accuse her of trying to pick through my estate before I'm even dead. I told her that the ring is mine and I can even sell it on my deathbed if I want to. She has no right to expect it, and she's being a rude brat by demanding it. She yelled at me that something like this can't just be sold. It should be an heirloom and it's normal for heirlooms to be passed on while the wearer is still alive. Yeah, but only if they want to give it away. way, are you joking? I told her to leave if she was just at my home to demand my property, and then she stormed out taking my son with her. She's mad at me, and my son said I should have passed the ring to her. Oh god, get out of here, dude. Since I have others and it would be a nice gesture to welcome her to the family. He says it's no different than his sister occasionally borrowing some of my pieces. Did they say they wanted to borrow it? No, they didn't. So it's completely different. My husband and my daughter are on my side, but this is the first time my son has shut me out like this. So am I the a-hole? Edit, daughter-in-law has an engagement ring already. It's beautiful and I'd call it expensive. This isn't a case of her being proposed to without a ring. Yeah, once again, you're not in the wrong here, OP. The top comment says not the a-hole. Your daughter-in-law is quite the entitled gold or emerald digger. If she wanted it for an engagement ring, the proper thing would have been for your son to discuss it with you. Her asking for it is shocking and rude. It's not an heirloom if you're the first owner in the family. Heirlooms tend to have generations behind them, and they're not necessarily given away during the owner's lifetime. Many family mementos are distributed as part of an estate after the owner is deceased. Don't loan anything to her or you'll never see it again. Yeah, how ridiculous. And yeah, so bloody rude of them to ask you. And like, yeah, the son wants to stand up for their partner, but that only works if the partner isn't obviously doing something wrong. Like if you asked anybody about this, they would say that they're doing the wrong thing, because they are, and it's super rude and it's super obvious. And yeah, it isn't an heirloom. Like you don't get to decide and be like, oh, okay, I want this, so this is going to be an heirloom. No, they need to offer it to you. You don't go, oh, I'm going to have this. Nah, get out of here with that. The next one is called, am I the a-hole for calling my nephew a sad beige baby? Edit, yes, I tried to apologize. This is also not about if I should apologize or not. Even if I was 100% in the right, I would still apologize for hurting her. Okay, so we don't bully my sister. The only time we make a comment is regarding her son, like when family and friends gift him something colorful and she throws it away or donates it. The sad beige baby is not an inside joke about her. It's an inside joke of a TikTok account. By the way, I was informed that Warner Herzog is not a designer. Lol. I'd just taken that for granted. Yes, I also call my children sad beige children. Like when they say they want a new toy or something, me or my husband go like, a sad beige toy for a sad beige child. We also call them feral trash baby, stinky man, poopy gremlin, and more. They call us stinky goblin man and gobbo, and it's my sister, not my sister-in-law. Okay, so they were the updates. Now the original post. I have 2 kids, a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old girl, and my sister has a son who's 1.5 years old. She's a mummy blogger and embraces the white and beige aesthetic. This reference reflects it in every room of her apartment, including seasonal decorations, and she is quite intense about it. I've never said anything to her about it as it brings her joy. Some months ago, I stumbled upon a TikTok channel where a woman adopts a fake German accent to quote-unquote review fashion for what she calls sad beige babies. I think it is really funny, and it's become an inside joke at our home. During our recent visit to her apartment with my parents and husband, my nephew was seated on my lap. We were playing. I was wobbling him on my lap and pretended to eat his little arms. As I was talking gibberish, I unintentionally slipped into the sad beige baby persona. I genuinely didn't anticipate it becoming an issue. However, when I mentioned sad beige baby, my sister became furious. She expressed frustration, stating that she's tired of people critiquing her decorating preferences. When my brother tried to explain that it was meant as a joke and that she's too anal about her aesthetic, she angrily spilled her red wine on the white tablecloth, exclaiming, "Are you happy now?" She then asked us to leave and has since inundated me with direct messages on Instagram, sending me numerous mummy accounts sharing the same aesthetic. My mother believes I should apologize for my unintentionally rude comment. I'm utterly taken aback because in truth, it wasn't even directed at my sister. My nephew happened to be wearing a beige sweater and made an exaggerated sad face, which prompted laughter, thus me calling him a sad beige baby. Yeah, like the top comment says, not the a-hole for playing with your nephew, but you should apologize to your sister. She is hurt by it, and it was a silly thing to say in her home when you know she takes her aesthetic so serious. Justin, it reminded me of a meme but saying it was thoughtless and I shouldn't have said it. Knowing how proud you are of your home, I'm sorry. Edit, I wanted to clarify that my opinion is not the a-hole for saying something without thinking about it. Same as you're not the a-hole for stepping on somebody's foot for walking into them. I feel like OP would be the a-hole if they don't apologize, and OP responds to that comment. I tried to explain to her that it actually had nothing to do with her aesthetic, but my nephew's brown sweater, but she said she knew exactly how people thought of her, and the comment under that one says, it has everything to do with her aesthetic, and you know it does. It started because of somebody who criticizes your sister's aesthetic. You continued the joke in your own home to make fun of her aesthetic behind her back, and now you've done it so much that you're accidentally saying it to her and her child's face. Yeah, that comment makes a very good point. Like, how could the joke not be about them? And like, of course, when they saw this TikTok account, they would have been laughing and thinking it was fake. funny because of their sister, but does that mean they're wrong for saying it? And also, should the sister be so sensitive about it? And also, is it a stupid trend? I've got so many questions here. Are they using their baby as like an accessory to their aesthetic? And maybe they realized that, and maybe that's why they got so upset about it. And it obviously is so much of a thing that it's become a meme, which is pretty funny. And also, is everything being beige bad for a baby? I don't know anything about this. And then also the reaction of the sister, like throwing red wine on something white, but at the same time, maybe OP shouldn't have said anything. Yeah, I don't know. This one has a lot of different aspects to it, but yeah, it is marked as not the a-hole. Actually, it's marked as there's no a-holes here. Let me know down below what you think, guys. The next one, and probably the last one for today, is called Am I the a-hole for laughing at my brother's girlfriend after she asked me why none of us like her? My 20 females brother Mark, 23 male, has been with his girlfriend 22 female Jane for a year. She's one of the most passive-aggressive, snarky people you'll ever meet. Her middle name is Petty. The thing that caused our family to keep her at arm's length was when she got mad at our mum for accommodating our younger sister's autism and not force-feeding her as well as allowing her to read at the table, something that calms her down. She got our mum's ass for quote-unquote enabling an entitled brat. Another example was when my mum supported Mark's decision to get a tattoo that he'd been saving up for years. Jane proceeded to call mum up to complain that he made the deposit with his hard-earned saved money and had an appointment set. She told mum she wasn't going to allow this quote-unquote emotional incest anymore and that she's happy to make an appointment for all of us for family therapy as this enmeshment is making her uncomfortable. What? She's continued to make comments like these, specifically to mum, and it's disgusting how little respect she has for pretty much everyone but herself. She hasn't been invited to Christmas this year, but Mark is. It's unclear what they're planning to do yet. A few days ago, Jane called mum as mum had blocked her. She said she was 3 months pregnant and went on a long rant about the family dynamic. She then asked, "Why don't you all like me?" I laughed out of pure shock and I asked her if she was serious. She didn't even respond, just said, "I'll call you when you're in the mood to be more mature," and then hung up. I told mum about the situation and she's on my side, but Mark is fuming at me for laughing at Jane's question and angry at mum for being on my side. Mum just told him that he needs to talk to Jane about her constant comments and insults and that she's expecting an apology. Mark won't talk to me and Jane blocked my number. Am I the a-hole? Edit, the tattoo has got nothing to do with our mum. It's an octopus up his arm that my brother designed himself. He does art and wanted to be a tattoo artist. Yeah, no, you're definitely not the a-hole. Like, oh, why don't any of you like me? Is it because of my awful and disrespectful behavior? Yeah, maybe. And yeah, on that note, we need to read something wholesome. That's enough Am I the a-hole for today. Professionalism sucks. I want to put this and this in my emails. Yeah, why can't you? Surely. And put a LMAO at the end. That is super true though. It does need more emotion. Me and the gang pulling up to the convention to be whimsical and silly. Oh, beautiful kitty cats. I'm assuming that's a painting that somebody did. I want that painting so bad. I love cats so much. And the orange one looks like Chico. I'm very pro love is the most important thing to put into your cooking. But also, please season your crap. Love is stored in the garlic powder. Yeah, 1,000,000%. Like, yeah, that's right. Love is very important in your food, but flavor also matters. Oh, cute. A wah wah wee wah comic. You're happy. Yeah, how did you know? I can feel it. Oh, because they're wagging their tail so much. That's so cute. And every single wah wah wee wah comic we've ever read has also been so cute. And on that beautiful note, thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful time. And if you did and you want to see more Am I the A-hole episodes, make sure you like and subscribe. And the comment of the day today goes to Freak996. My kitties Bagel, Breadstick and Da Vinci were not well behaved, but they sure paid attention when they weren't pausing the video trying to attack the background game. Oh, Bagel, Breadstick and Da Vinci. That's so beautiful, and make sure you say hello to them for me. So when I'm flying around on Superflight, they're like smacking the screen. Aww. Oh, I love that so much. Okay, I'm out of here. Thank you for all the support, guys. Make sure you look after yourself and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!